Hello, welcome back to another episode of Xbox Infinite. How you doing, guys, in the chat? It's already cranking in there. We've got another awesome week. I'm going to be honest, this week hasn't been huge for news, but it is huge because there's a game on the horizon that we've all been waiting for. But before we get to that, I'm going to get to the guests. Garuda and Intruda, welcome back, man. How you doing? What have you been up to? What have you been playing, you PC shell?
Yeah, thanks, man, for having me back. I've been playing a lot of games, man. There's just so much to play, and I'm in panic mode because I want to try and wrap up this ever-expanding backlog before Starfield comes out, man. I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm realizing that it's just not going to happen. I'm not going to finish that game before Starfield comes out, and I just think it's not the kind of game you want to try and rush through either. But yeah, I've mostly been playing Baldur's Gate 3 and a whole bunch of other stuff, so... yeah, man. But I've just got one eye on Starfield. I'm not gonna lie. As good as BG3 is, I'm just thinking about Starfield, man.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the game of the generation. That's what I think. Anyway, Blue, how's your week? What have you been up to? What have you been playing? How's things? I haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I've been playing a crap ton of Fallout 76. The scoreboard's changing next week, and so I am pumping every minute I got into it and ignoring Pete's party invites because I don't want to talk to him about playing Fallout 76.
I don't blame you for that. I don't blame
you. And I got a two-headed Brahmin cow suit last night and ran around like a cheese ball, and I love every minute of it. That game is fantastic. I don't care what people say. So that's been pretty much all of my time. So thanks. I'm here, ready to talk.
Have you been playing Remnant, or you just dropped off that?
Yeah. Oh well, Pete and I sat down the other night when I finally gave him a little bit of time, and we popped into Remnant. I met the final boss, and I kind of went straight to it. I didn't do a lot of extra, so I'm probably pretty underpowered for it. Plus, that boss, if anybody's done it, it's miserable. It's horrible. Just bad time. Don't do it. Right. But we got super lucky and somebody hopped in our party and they had the best build I've ever seen on any character, probably in any game that is hopefully legit. But frankly, I've played that boss so many times and it just sucks that I didn't care, but we got through it. So that is my end of Remnant 2 as far as the full playthrough. I would like to go back and re-roll some of the worlds and, see the stuff that I did miss. But I've got limited time until Starfield, and my Constellation Edition better not get canceled by GameStop because it's going to be a riot otherwise. So hopefully September 1st I'll be on that. But until then, Fallout 76 it is.
Yeah, well, there's that, and maybe you could drop Fallout 76 because there's a few other games that are coming in Game Pass. One that just dropped that I had no idea was coming, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Infinite Umbra. Infinite Umbra, welcome back. How's your week been?
Isn't Umbra?
What have you been up to?
Isn't Umbra like that song? Oh, sail away, sail away, sail away.
I think that's Enya.
Oh, that's Enya. Okay, what you got, Enya? Man, it's been a decent week, but man, I have been fatigued, man. I had to cancel yesterday's show for the fix. Much love to anybody who was actually coming through to support. What's up, chat, by the way? Garuda, thank you for joining us. But yeah, man, it's been a decent week. I haven't had much time to game, but when I did get on, I jumped on Halo Infinite, which I'm still loving. Sorry, Pete, I know it's causing you guys issues overseas, but for us here in America, it's flawless just about. And I have been playing Atlas Fallen. I actually really enjoy Atlas Fallen, much more so when I'm playing with my brother Pete. Co-op has seemed to be the solution, I think. What would you say, Pete? I think you would agree.
100%. Yeah, so I was playing it yesterday and I had to face the shell basher, that big crustacean.
Oh yeah.
Crab.
Yeah,
that thing is infuriating in single player, but when me and you did it together, it was it was fun, bro. So I don't think I'm going to play that game in single player anymore. I think I'm just going to play it in multiplayer with you, bro, and Mac.
Did you guys say you got?
I'm with you on that.
You guys say you got crabs together? What happened?
He he technically said crustacean, so he avoided that part. But yeah, no man, no, the game is fun. I know I was talking with Rand earlier. He was railing on me about that. About he said he doesn't like the game. He thinks it's trash. But I think it's enjoyable if you play a 2-player. I think it's enjoyable in single player too, just exploration wise. But when you're actually fighting, it just feels really, really cool to fight in the co-op, honestly, in my opinion. But other than that, man, I'm just excited to be here with you guys today and talk some gaming.
Pete, I haven't seen you all week. So I don't even know how your week's been. Normally I know. But how has your week been? What have you been up to?
Yeah, man, it sucks, bro. It sucks not catching up with you all week. So I haven't. But we've got to get back into Remnant, bro. Honestly, I love that game. I just adore everything about it. So me and Holly jumped in and we did the final boss together, and we were getting our butts kicked. So I did manage to do it in single player solo, but I think it's harder when you're doing it in co-op because you have to get used to the boss and he's not always attacking you. But the Black 12 jumped in. We didn't invite him, he just jumped into our game and he had the best build that I have ever seen. It is ridiculously OP. So as soon as you get damaged, your health just goes back straight up to full. And so that was cool. We were able to finish Holly's game and get her through. And I did play a little bit of Halo as well. I played with Umbra a little bit. I played with KJ and MacBound and J-Rock yesterday on a 350 millisecond ping. It was painful.
Yeah, it's not even worth it.
Very painful.
Yuck,
But yeah, I just want to play Halo with my friends. And there was one game where we got 170, I think, and they were on 70. And then when they got 70, they were complaining about it. So that was hilarious. But yeah, looking forward to getting back into Remnant 2 with your Risk. We've got to get it finished before Starfield comes out. Starfield has gone gold. How good is that? I'm pre-downloading on my Xbox right now. I finally got the Xbox updated UI. I really like it. You can see more of the background. I think it's easier to navigate. Yeah, I think it's really, really good. And I just wanted to say happy belated birthday to MacBound as well.
Ah, it's Mac's
Yeah,
birthday.
happy birthday.
Yeah,
It was a
man.
couple days
Oh,
ago.
his birthday was some days ago. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
pretty
you
sure
got
I
two
said it.
birthdays.
Yeah, he's got like a birthday week going on.
Oh, he's trying to be like one of these new fangled women out here. My week, this birthday week for me. I'm all this week. It's my
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah,
Like,
my
nah,
missus does
your
that
Your
shit.
birthday is one day. Oh, she does it too, huh?
Yeah, that ain't,
Nah.
yeah, it ain't right. That ain't
let
right.
him
And then
have it, bro.
I don't even get a Father's Day. We get a Parents' Day. Anyway, this week actually, I've been sort of hanging out by myself on Xbox a little bit with Shiznit. If anyone in the party knows Shiznit, that's never a good time. G'day, Shiz. I know you're not listening. But I've been playing a little bit of Everspace. That just dropped a couple of days ago on Game Pass. I did not see it coming. Got a chance to play a bit of it last night as well. Really good game. It's sort of like Chorus. It's like Chorus, but it's got RPG elements. It's a little bit more in depth. I'm really digging it, man. And if you're hankering for a bit of a Starfield space fix, that might be the way to go. It's really, really good. Then the other thing is, I think today,
It looks beautiful.
yeah, today we got Texas Chainsaw Massacre dropping as well. So then there's that dropping. And then we've got Starfield a couple of weeks out, unless you're special. And if you're special, you've got it already. I haven't got it already. And I'm upset. I did cry a little bit. I cried myself to sleep.
Yeah, so jealous. So jealous.
I was
Look, we don't have to wait long. Honestly, what, 10 days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
31st. Is it 31st midnight for us in Australia too, or do we have to wait until some
Well,
ridiculous time?
I think it's 31st
I
9,
everyone else.
don't know.
9 p.m.
I did hear that be very, very careful because there have been a lot of like they're telling the story away on Reddit posts and things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that, and
I
they're
saw
giving
that, bro.
stuff away. So just be very careful on what you look
Yeah.
out for. I like going into a game fresh, not
too.
knowing anything,
Yeah.
especially a game like that. So I just caution everybody to just stay away from that stuff so you can experience it the way they were it's meant to be experienced.
Yeah,
We've
absolutely.
been waiting like 10 years plus for this, like only to get it spoiled now. No way, man. Just don't even bother.
You got
Well,
to be careful too, because a lot of idiots online are spoiling it. So
yeah, on
hell yeah.
on that
You know the
topic,
Tonys are gonna
I've got
do
to
it.
say, guys, we're going to go through some of the Q&A that Starfield had or Bethesda had with the community. But before we do, I've got the ending here. Let me just read it out. So you walk into. No, just messing around. I don't have the ending. But guys, we are going to go through some of the Q&A stuff. There's nothing there that I would consider a spoiler. It's just things that you can do and can't do in the universe. And then just talk a little bit about how it's going gold. I also wanted to go through and get everyone's take on what they think this is going to land at on Metacritic as well. So there was a Q&A with Bethesda. We talked a little bit about it last week, that it was coming up. I did mention it. And a fair few details came out of that. One of the things that came out of it is you can go to jail, which I didn't think was like a big thing, because I'll just avoid the shit out of that. I'll run away, I'll kill someone, or I'll pay what I got to pay, and I ain't going to jail. Maybe I'll do it once just to experience it. But there's a few other things that sort of come out. There's some specific items that are considered contraband, but we knew this, meaning pretty much that they're illegal everywhere. You can hide them on your ship in special modules you can purchase, so you can get real Han Solo-y. And don't get caught with those harvested organs, it says here. So I wonder if you can actually harvest organs. That would be interesting. So you could have like a table of sandwiches and a table of hearts. I need to put a dumb thing, don't I? Let me just do this. Hang on, because guys, there we go.
Yeah, I got locked up in Skyrim, just to get locked up. I thought it was funny. So I'll probably get locked up as well.
Yeah, I'll just do it once, but I mean, that's not a big thing. One thing that they were talking about that was pretty interesting is that you can choose a trait. I think it's called kid stuff. And then that'll give you parents, and the way that your parents look will be taken from how you look. So that's pretty interesting. That's an interesting mechanic. It says how smuggling cargo will work. Yeah, we've already got that. Will time pass in the game, for example? Will my trade routes, outpost, mining operations continue to produce, or does that only occur while actively playing? Only occurs while actively playing. So the world's not persistent while you don't have the game running. So I mean, that's cool. I'd prefer that. I hate coming back to a game where it's a persistent world and like your base has been attacked and all your guys are dead, and yeah, that's not really my thing. But I'm pretty fucking excited, man. I cannot wait for this game to come out now. I wasn't a big Bethesda fan. I've never been a big Bethesda guy. In fact, I'm usually pretty critical of their games. But this one seems like it's going to be the big one. One other thing that I wanted to mention is when Fallout came out, I think it was version 1.110. This is at like version 1.1356 or something. So you can see they put a lot of polish into the game. Now, earlier in the day, I dropped my prediction for what I think it's going to land at. So I want to get everyone's sort of prediction on what they think Starfield's going to land at. So I'm guessing it's going to be a 93 on Xbox, and just basically because of the 30. And this might be pushing it, because more often than not, a game will land a couple of points higher or lower on PC. But I said 97. I have rethought that. I sort of think 95, but I'm going to go with 93 and 97, stick to my guns. Blue, what do you think? Where do you think we're going to land with Starfield?
I think Xbox, well, I think it's going to be at 90. Not saying that it deserves that. It could be way, way, way better, right? And I anticipate for me personally, it's better than that. But we all know, we've all seen the tweets about certain people attempting to create bot accounts and other types of accounts just to tank the game for no adult reason. So I'm putting it at 90.
Yeah, well,
it's going to be fantastic.
There is that. We are going to talk about that. I didn't have it in the topics, but so you think 90 on Xbox? What do you think on PC? You think any difference?
It'll be higher on PC.
What do you think?
I would put it at 93, 94.
93, 94. Garuda, what do you think? Where do you think we're going to land? And guys in the chat, I want to know where you think we're going to land. So give us your Starfield ratings. Garuda?
Was just about to ask that.
Garuda?
Yeah. Well, I think that that's my Garuda patented Garuda voice I'm working on.
Sorry
Everybody.
about that. I had to avert a situation. My daughter just almost fell down the stairs. Sorry about that.
Good catch.
Oh man.
Good catch.
Are we up to what my prediction for the Metascore will be for Starfield?
We are,
Yeah,
sir.
PC and Xbox, bro.
Okay, yeah. Look, to be honest with you, like, I do think that it will be Starfield's going to be lucky to reach 90 on Xbox, because I do subscribe to the bias and the hatred and the sort of Xbox tax. I do think it's going to get a little bit of that, and I do think that the people are going to lean on the 30 FPS as a bit of an issue to dock points from the game. So if it reaches 90, I'll be surprised, just for that fact. But on PC, I think it's going to score about a few extra, you know, like Blue and a couple others suggested as well. But look, it doesn't matter though, if you know what I mean, because, you know, I think believing that it will reach or exceed 97 on Metacritic, the same as Baldur's Gate 3, is just a tad unrealistic. Like, we hardly ever see scores like that. And when you look at it, Baldur's Gate 3 only has like 12 or 14 reviews. Starfield's going to have, you know, triple that amount of reviews, you know. So I think with that in mind, it probably won't get up to a 97. But look, let's hope it does. But let's face it, everybody wants to play this game. The review score, because it's on Game Pass, matters a little bit less. But a few people are going to show their true colors, a few publications and reviewers and stuff in the community. The true colors are going to show with this game. I hope that Bethesda's pedigree kind of speaks for itself and negates some of the bias and the hatred towards the Xbox platform being successful. I hope that their own pedigree just sort of, you know, sort of transcends that. But yeah, if it scores a 90 on Xbox, I'll be pretty impressed, to be honest with you. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, I think that's fairly in the lows, personally. I don't know. I don't. I mean, looking at Elder Scrolls, I think it landed at a 97 or a 96.
Skyrim did.
Skyrim,
yeah,
96.
Yeah,
No,
but I think
96
on PC.
Oblivion was right up there as well. I think Fallout 3 was well into the 90s as well. It was only
It was
Fallout 4
multi-plat.
Sorry.
It was multi-plat.
Yeah, well, that's another
right.
thing I was looking at last night with the user review scores, and I do want to jump into the topic of review bombing soon, but I'll go to Pete and Umbra in 2 seconds. But that's another thing I was looking at, the user scores of PlayStation versus PC, of Elder Scrolls versus Xbox. And what I sort of found there was that overwhelmingly positive, 8.6 or 8 point whatever it was. And then on the PlayStation side, it was 6.3. And I wanted to go through and I read quite a few of the reviews or the comments. And what I found was that they experienced a lot more bugs on PlayStation. And I sort of that makes sense, right? Because all we hear about from these PlayStation guys is the bug Bethesda and a lot of bugs. And maybe it was the PlayStation that suffered from that the most. And that's why you sort of get that narrative coming from that side. But Umbra, what do you think? Where do you think we're going to land as a review score, Metacritic?
You know, by nature, let me give you all a little insight into me. Something that many of you all might not know, but I'm an Aquarius, the best sign in the zodiac. Nobody else need apply. I am an optimist. You see, Holly knows. So by nature, I am an optimist, and I tend to lean toward optimism. If you ever hear me talk, you typically don't hear me talk so negatively about anything, though I don't shy away from saying anything negative if I feel that's what it's going to be. So I'm a realist, but I'm also an optimist. But I believe after seeing that 45-minute breakdown we got at the not so E3, that I think that changed a lot of people's minds. And now, had this been the case that we didn't see that beforehand, and you know, I guess just basic marketing and things like that, maybe I could see the press, or excuse me, the media trying to use their bias, because like you, Garuda, like you, Pete, and Holly, I'm sure others in the chat, I believe there is an Xbox bias. They might not want to try to admit it, but we see it all the time. We just had an incident with IGN where they refused to mention Xbox in the article about Xbox, a game about Xbox, right? Yeah. Now, I heard Rand and Jez talk about it, and Jez thought it was clever because it was like, well, who are they? The thing is, though, we know who they are. It's us. It's Xbox gamers. So it's not so clever as that, because he's saying, well, they have to click on and, you know, get to the article. Yeah, I get it, but we know who you're talking about. It's not so provocative that you're alluring us. It's like, who? I wonder who they're talking about. We know it's us, but you refuse to mention Xbox. Then you had the incident, of course, where they showed upcoming third-party games, even a game that's coming to Game Pass, and it didn't even show Xbox in the lower thirds, as they called it. So my thing is I do believe that there is media bias, and they might not admit it. I think it could be a subconscious thing with a lot of people. I think a lot of the people in media are hooved. I'm just going to be honest. You know what I mean? But I do believe that a great game is a great game and will typically win out at the end. So I've upped my score. I used to be at an 88 to 92, and that was because I thought the media bias would kill it to some degree. Now I believe that there might be one outlier or two. You know, it's always some idiot that tries to make a name for themselves. Oh, I believe it is a 3 out of 10. You know, stuff like that should get your whole site canceled, in my opinion. Because if the game is not broken and all of that, you can't be giving a game a 3. I believe the game will be a 94 to a 96. So I think 94 low end, 96 high. And my thing is that, you know, we got BG3 down at a 97. Well deserved, I'm sure. I'm hearing nothing but praise from friends and everybody else. I wonder, though, if Starfield, because I still hold true, and you all heard me say this before, I still hold true that I believe Starfield is going to win Game of the Year. Now, BG3 came and threw a monkey wrench in there because they pushed Zelda right out of the argument. It seems to be, right? So, but I'm wondering, if Starfield comes in at a 94, let's say, and BG3 is at 97, would they use that to say, well, naturally we have to give Game of the Year to BG3? It had a 97, 3 points more than Starfield's 94. That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering how that's going to play out, and I know it's going to be a tough decision for some of the more fair-minded judges in Keeley's rigged. No, I'm sorry, it's not rigged. In his Game of the Year award, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it's rigged, man. I think exactly what you said, and we've had this conversation a few times with the media bias, and I don't think it's like a conscious bias choice that they make. I think it's just that when you are the market leader and there's just such a lead, and so many PlayStations out there and so many PlayStation fans, that's going to leak into the media, and then you're going to end up with bias. It's really not deniable just based on numbers. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I completely.
I agree with you, Risk.
I completely agree with that. The bias is there. Whether they. I mean, and I know Paris is one that gets upset when people say that that's true, but apologies to Paris, great guy, and he is part of that media. But I would argue that we're part of that media too. But we wear our bias on our sleeve. Absolutely, we can objectively think, and maybe there's some that can objectively think. But we've had too many examples in the media where they haven't objectively thought, and they come out with just frankly some dumb shit that clearly shows a bias. So yeah, I can definitely get down with that, and I hope it doesn't affect the scores. I hope it doesn't affect the Game of the Year. But I think, and I will get to you, Pete. Sorry, I know I'm rambling a bit, but I think that like when you look at the type of game that Baldur's Gate 3 is, and I hope casuals in the chat, it's a terrible game. No, it's apparently a fantastic game. I haven't played it. I mean, I know Garuda has, but it is a turn-based sort of game. So I think it's whilst it's been extremely popular, I think there is a nicheness to it. And I think that might stand in Starfield's favor when we talk about the Game of the Year things. But I personally believe, just based on the bias, Starfield's not going to get Game of the Year. I think the bias is too strong.
I think it still can win Game of the Year, Risk. I just think it depends on how they review it, as in how they view. If they take Starfield on its merits, as in there is no other game that is trying to do or is doing what Starfield is doing. There's no other game that pushes the boundaries or that innovates in the way Starfield does. If they take it on those merits, I think Starfield will win. But if they're just looking purely at it, I don't think they can look at the Metacritic for Game of the Year, because if that was the case, then Forza Horizon 5 would have won in 2021, wouldn't it? It didn't even get nominated despite being the highest rated Game of the Year. So, I mean, they can't just turn around and say, look, we like Starfield, but BG3 had a 97 and Starfield was only 91. Sorry, they'd be just going against their own stupid logic, wouldn't they? So if they're talking about innovation, what the game's adding to gaming, how far they're pushing things forward, then Starfield probably should win Game of the Year. But yes, to your point, just quickly, I wanted to add that Baldur's Gate 3 is absolutely niche. Yes, a lot of people on PC are playing it, which is where the demographic for that game generally would be. And that doesn't surprise me. The game is fantastic. But if the average Sony PlayStation fan who is used to the God of Wars and the bow and arrow games and the crying dads and the long cut scenes where you don't control anything, if they think that this is going to be another one of those games, they're going to be rudely shocked, because the game is very hardcore in every sense of the way. It's extremely difficult. It's turn-based. There's very unforgiving choice and consequences. It's quite slow and methodical. The systems on top of systems, they are going to get a rude shock, a lot of those guys. Look, I hope a lot of people like it, and the old school guys who love those kind of games, I think they will love it. But the average Twitter Sony PlayStation fanboy, they're going to get shocked with how
in depth the game is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Pete, I'm going to jump to you, man, and get your thoughts on where do you think Starfield's going to land as a review, taking everything into account?
How long ago I said this? I'm pretty sure I said it first on this show. I know I definitely said it when I was on RDX. I believe that Starfield will get a 93, just one below, and this is on PC. I really don't like bringing the Xbox PC into it, but we all know there's going to be an Xbox tax. So 93 on PC, one below what Skyrim got. I think that'll be a fair assessment of where the game will be as well. I don't like giving 10 out of 10s for games. And it is 30 FPS on console as well. I think the Xbox tax will push it down to around the 86 mark on Xbox if you do want an Xbox figure as well. The funny thing is with
just quick correction.
Fallout 4.
Quick correction now. Skyrim's 96. It was 96 on Xbox.
94 on PC.
Was that?
I'm gonna count Xbox. I'm not. Xbox is the lead platform for it, so I'm gonna stick with that one.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, so
and PlayStation 3, I think
I'm just gonna double check myself.
No,
Yeah,
you're
so
right.
Skyrim on PC is 94.
Cool. Yeah.
And yeah, so I think Starfield will get a 93, and I think I said that maybe 8 months ago. I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna stick to my guns. And yeah, I think I'll be pretty close with that. So Fallout 4, their last big game that they released, was 84 on PC, 87 on PlayStation, and 88 on Xbox. So a little bit all over the place. I don't really care what a game gets, to be honest. I don't buy games based on what score it gets, so that really doesn't bother me. But I do think that Zelda, just like Xbox has a tax, Nintendo gets bumped up. And I do think that Tears of the Kingdom will still win Game of the Year. And you took the words right out of my mouth, Risk. I think that Baldur's Gate 3 is just far too much of a niche game to win Game of the Year. And although it's fantastic and it's everything that the games that play those games want, I mean, everybody just speaks incredibly highly of it. I just don't think a game like that will win Game of the Year. Now,
I agree, mate.
I could be wrong. It could be like Elden Ring, where the force of the community and that, that snowball factor kicks in, where it's undeniable. I think someone put in the chat there, I thought it was a really good word, and you just can't take it away from it. But I just can't see that being the case with either Starfield or Baldur's Gate 3. And I do think that Nintendo will get their boost and Tears of the Kingdom will win.
Yeah. I just want to point out to you, though, as far as niche titles, you had Elden Ring, you had Sekiro, which is even more niche, and you had It Takes Two. All niche titles, all won Game of the Year. Now, they're not going against Zelda, to be fair to you, too. But I will also add to you that Todd Howard has beaten Nintendo before for Game of the Year. Twice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
I
don't.
agree, and it could, like I said, it could be undeniable, like where the sheer force of the community pushes it to win Game of the Year. But I just think that the narrative out there is just not going to be like that. It might have been like that if it came out on all platforms. The sheer fact of the matter is we know what's going to happen when
Yeah.
Starfield comes out. They are going to nitpick the fuck out of this game.
That's
Any
true.
small little bug that's going to
Mhm.
be there is going to get amplified 1,000-fold, because just that's what Twitter, that's what X does. And I just don't
Yep,
think it's
that's
going to
true.
have that, that sheer momentum that Elden Ring had. And
Yeah, but
Elden Ring
was-
built up that
there's-
momentum.
there was
There's
plenty
a
of.
pedigree that comes. Sorry.
You're right. No, you jump in, Blake.
Sorry. There's a pedigree though that comes with Bethesda, right? It's not an unknown studio. It's very high acclaimed, not just because of Bethesda games, but because of Arcane, right? Which is also under Bethesda. So, and Todd Howard, of course, brings his own high level of pedigree to the table too. So whether it's Bethesda and Starfield or Rockstar, GTA, or like you could go down, right? CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk 2077. There is a different level of critique for the different size of game, different size of studio, different pedigree that comes with that studio. And that's fair because it's not like this game hasn't been touted as 25 years in the making and all of the things, right, that have built it up. Now, those things shouldn't, the buildup of the 25 years shouldn't necessarily influence how somebody plays the game and experiences it to score it. But you can't deny that it's not a fair assumption or a fair litmus test to use those ideas of this is Bethesda, right? Like you're going to look at, if you got in a Lamborghini and you drove it, you're going to have a different expectation than if you got in a Kia right afterwards, right? You're going to grade each of those at their own level. You can't compare the two. It's completely different. So Zelda and Starfield are at a different level, right? And you just, I don't know. You get my point, right? Like there is some fairness in being more picky or more, I don't want to say judgmental because that's not the right word, but to be more critical of a game like that because of the resources, because of the people working on it, because of the assets that Microsoft brings to it. Now,
I understand that, Blue, but Zelda also has things that like are brand new to the gaming market. So they brought like Minecraft elements where you can build things out of the environment that then you can then go explore, like making a flying ship or things like that. And so they have brought elements into the like. So I think they definitely deserve to be in the conversation. Baldur's Gate 3, from all sounds, have brought a flawless experience in that role-playing game strategy type genre, and Starfield, I think, will bring something new as well. So an RPG, but not set on one planet, not set on one world, but thousands of worlds. And the environmental storytelling of that game will be... and I think on any other given year, either of these games could have won. So I don't think either of them will be not deserving because they've all brought something new. They've all brought something fresh. They've all, from all accounts, everybody that's played Starfield, I've heard nothing but good news from it. Like, yes, it's going to be bug tester. There's going to be a few bugs. When you make 1,000 planets, that's always going to happen. But it just looks like all three of those games have done everything they were meant to do. So, I don't know. It's like a toss of a coin right now to see who wins. And I don't think it really matters because the people that love Zelda will be adamant that that game should have won. The people that love Baldur's Gate 3 are adamant that game should have won. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be adamant that Starfield should win.
Yeah, well, I do think that Bethesda is doing a lot. That's their wheelhouse that they sort of have done before, but they're also doing a lot that they haven't done before and haven't been able to do before. And I think Zelda's one of those games that also has done what they haven't been able to do before, or they haven't done before. But when I look at Baldur's Gate 3, I don't see that game doing anything new. I see that game doing something that doing something really well that has been done before. So I think
that's right, Riskit, and that's exactly what I was going to say based on what Pete said at the end, where people are going to say that Baldur's Gate 3 should have won Game of the Year because of this and because of that. But the truth is, when you look at the game objectively for what it is a super polished and much better iteration of Divinity Original Sin 2. And if anyone played that, it's a really good game as well. But this is essentially like that, but everything is just better. But there's nothing that hasn't been done in an RPG before. I can tell you that for a fact. It's just done so much better. And it's been improved and polished on top of polish and things like that. But it's very much more of the same. Do you know what I mean? So if they're going to...
More of the same in something that hasn't been done that way. I mean, like, we haven't got a super polished game like that for so long now.
And that works in its favor.
Yeah,
it does.
But it has
really
been
does.
done. But that's not the point. The point is, like, super polish has not been done, and the elements and everything that's put together in Baldur's Gate 3 has been done before. So, but when you look at Zelda, there's a lot in that game that just hasn't been done before. Like, completely open to build whatever it is the hell you want to build. Like, that hasn't. I would argue to the level that Zelda's doing it, it hasn't been done before. And then Starfield with the just the size and the scale, and the procedural generation, like, yes, but the size and the scale just hasn't been done before. So I think that there's elements in those two games that hasn't in Baldur's Gate. I would argue that has, and I would definitely lean towards Starfield and Zelda being top of the conversation. And I hope it goes that way, because I think those two are definitely more deserving. Even though Casual's probably just like blown a gasket in his head, but they're more deserving than Baldur's Gate. Not to take anything away from Baldur's Gate at all. I haven't played it either, but I just knowing like what I've been told about it, what I've read about it, what I've seen, I don't think it's quite hitting the bar that is so high this year. There is literally in this year, there is got to be at least almost 10 games that could be Game of the Year conversations in any other year. 2023 is a fucking anomaly. Like, we have never seen a gaming year like this, like, ever.
2007 was better.
Oh, I don't think so.
That's about the only one I would say is 2007.
I don't know. I mean, I know that's
better.
subjective,
Trust
but
me,
I don't
bro.
think so.
BioShock, Assassin's Creed,
Halo 3,
Mass Effect,
Halo 3, the Orange Box,
Call of Duty, Modern Warfare.
A lot of those games are all very similar.
So many legit.
So if you like one of them, you'll probably like
trash games.
How could you possibly say that, Garuda? Honestly, mate, I know I don't really want to argue, but they are completely different. You cannot tell me that Call of Duty,
first-person shooters and space games there,
and Assassin's Creed and Mass Effect and BioShock are similar games. They're completely different.
Some of them are different, but a lot of them have a similar tone and stuff like that. And they are amazing games, bro. I'm not disputing that. But like this year, the variety we've had, but also the quality is sort of unprecedented, I think.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. And we'll get to your super chat, Hargeet, but absolutely, I'll add to that. Actually, I'll jump to it now. Gerald back with the $5 super chat. He says, shout out to the Xbox Infinite podcast. Greybeards, we them boys, we outside the foundation of gaming. Greybeards, Xbox World Order is fully operational. And yes, my beard is back and it is grey. It's not as big as it was before or as glorious, but we'll get there. Hargeet with the $5 super chat. Thank you, Hargeet. Very generous, your champion. He said, just pointing out that Starfield also has building physics have to work, as you could build a starship that can fly in an atmosphere and in space. Yeah. So there is a lot of physics. There's global illumination that I don't think has been done on the level that in size and scale. There's a lot there that hasn't been done before. So yeah, I mean, I just really think Starfield and Zelda are that conversation. Yeah,
I agree with you, Rick.
There's something special there. Look, we do. Sorry, jump in.
I just want to add one last thing: is that we haven't heard any official confirmation from anybody, but those that are playing it, including game journalists, I have seen their tweets, and they are fully positive about Starfield. I have not seen one negative post, if you will, because that's what they call them now, posts, and even a wayward bot like Kid Smooth, our brother Kid Smooth was even tweeted out that he spoke too soon and put his foot in his mouth about 30 frames per second, alluding to the fact that he's playing Starfield as well. So I think, the whole 30 frames per second thing that people thought would hold it back, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I'm pretty sure it plays very smooth. And all I've seen is positives. And people are saying like, oh, I'm exhausted after playing so long, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's going to be, I'm telling you, I think it's going to hit the 94 to 96 mark.
I hope you're right, man.
I'm not gonna. One thing I definitely won't do, because there's heavy embargoes and I don't want to stitch anyone up here. But from what I have heard, and from who I have heard it from, it's I think it's going to be a definite Game of the Year conversation. But do want to move on to the next topic that's related to this topic. But before I do, guys, please hit the like button if you haven't already and you've been hanging out with us and you're already subscribed. If you're not and you're new here, we're live at 8 p.m. EST every Friday. So hit that subscribe button so you know when we go live. Look, this is related, and I definitely wanted to have this conversation because it's something that heavily pisses me off, and I don't like it when any side of the community does it. So if you're involved in any of this review bombing or review boosting bullshit, stop it. This sort of happened in the community earlier in the week, where a lot of PlayStation guys were already getting prepared to go and review bomb Starfield. This is just disgusting behavior, and I think that King David said it pretty well. Like, if you put that energy into just one thing positive in your life, the amount of energy it would take from to make 1,000 accounts so that you can go bomb Starfield, like it fucking matters, by the way. Like it matters. Like, no one's going to give a shit what you like about the user scores, because this is so prevalent, and it's something that I would point to Metacritic as something that they need to fix. Like, Metacritic needs to fix this. It needs to stop, because there are people so immature out there and so childish. They don't realize that this is people's work. And in some cases, talk about Starfield being a 25-year game, but let's say at least 10 years of development. This is a decade of someone's life that you are behaving like a dick about. Like, if you don't like the game or you're upset that it went to Xbox, like, get over yourself. Go do something else. Go play Baldur's Gate. Do whatever you're going to. But this stupidity of review bombing games has to stop. And I would say to everyone in the Xbox community, when Spider-Man 2 comes out, do not review bomb that game. Like, it's all right to have a joke on Twitter. A joke is a joke. Console warring for fun, I'm all for it. But this shit of review bombing, it's got to stop. It really does have to stop. And I there's a couple of people that I mentioned something on Twitter about. A couple of people jumped in and said, I didn't see you saying anything when GT7 got bombed. Yes, I fucking did. I had plenty to say when GT7 got bombed. I don't like it. I think it's wrong. It's the wrong thing to do. And it's the hallmark of a shit human being. So don't do this. That's my rant.
I agree. And by the way, I know for a fact we spoke on it because we talked about ways they could implement changes. I remember having that talk. And one of the things I stick with is that there needs to be some type of, accreditation type situation where they verify your email. Yeah, your email, and that you have played so many hours of it and that you are a verified purchaser of that game. I think something along the lines of that. There has to be something that ties you to that game before you could just spout off nonsense.
We wanted to have a regimented review process for actually reviewers as well, because that can cost people. Look at Days Gone. All accounts a great game, but they never made a second one because of the score that it got. And that's where people's livelihoods come into account. It's just not right.
Yeah. By the way, Eric Reed said he thought he was bombed. I thought it was genuine there was a ton of genuine backlash for GT7, to be fair, but it did get bombed too.
Yeah, absolutely. There was it got bombed, and I had something to say about it at the time as well. It's just wrong, man. This is people's work. You can take the piss out of ponies or PlayStation only fans or whatever you want to call them, and have a good laugh and do that online. But this is people's work. This is not the right. You don't roll into someone's place of work, and just because you don't like someone else or someone who likes them, then punish them for something that's just really got nothing to do. These are just people that make games. They don't give a shit about Xbox versus PlayStation. This is just not the right thing to do, man. It's just, again, like I said, it's the hallmark of a shit human being. And I don't want to stick on this topic for too long because it is pretty much the same topic. But has anyone else got anything else to say about review bombing? Thoughts? You enjoy it? You hate it?
Yeah, I love it. I love this. I love this particular review bombing tantrum because what it shows to me is how much this game, Starfield, being an Xbox exclusive, hurts them, man. I'm loving this, bro. Like, this just it speaks to their small-mindedness and their low IQ and their just illness and their sickness to the PlayStation brand, their dedication to it. I love it, man. It just gives me more ammo to go after them, and seeing how upset they are is just fuel for my soul. So yeah, man, bring it on. This is awesome.
I saw the guy saying he was going to make 1,000 different accounts to make sure he review bombs it.
That's
like, come on, man.
Man, that guy needs a life, bro. Like, wow.
Come on, like, really? And he posted it in full confidence because he knows there are other idiots like him out there.
For sure.
I wonder how many likes he has for that tweet.
Triggered these guys as bad as Starfield has, man. There's no other game that has just exposed their hatred and their disgust for the Xbox brand. Even people in the media are showing their true colors. Like, this is good. This is exposing all these fools, you know? I love this. I love this, bro. Starfield is hurting them more than any other Xbox game ever has. Because they want this game more than any other Xbox game. They want this game so bad.
What's so crazy, Garuda? They said they had excellent, like, high-end PCs. What's the problem?
That's what I say. Where's all their $6,000 PCs at now? Eh? Yeah. Where are they? Where they at? You know?
Wait. They didn't lie to us, did they?
Yeah. Obviously, they lied to us, bro.
Oh,
yep.
Bobby, what happened, Bobby?
How can you use the keyboard with hooves anyway, bro?
They use the straws from bundled up hay to type.
Screw the ponies, man. I'm going after them more than I ever have. They deserve it, bro.
Yeah, look, I just this it's people's work. It's what just gets me, man. I really don't like it. I think when I didn't even know it was going on. I think until about 2018. And a lot of them, from what I've seen, this is revenge for GT7. Like, I got to tell you guys, these PlayStation guys, you this is what you started this bullshit. I think it was Gears was one of the first ones that got bombed, man. Like, this is a PlayStation, and look, it doesn't matter who started it. Just stop review bombing. Like, Xbox guys who do it as well, stop it. Like, it's childish and stupid. And then I do want to move on to the next topic. Before I do, guys, please like button. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. We go live 8 p.m. every Friday, but sort of related topic as well, because I had a few that were related here. New study has found that toxic gamers are bad for business. Really interesting study. I don't know how true this is and the statistics, but using data and insights from Nielsen's video game tracking service, Take This found that a number of interesting facts, according to the data gleaned from the 2000, it's only a very small percentage of people polled, but 2,300 polled, 60% of players reported that they had decided not to spend money in a game because of how other players treated them in that community. 70% of reported that they have avoided playing certain games because of a community's reputation, and 60% of players reported that they had at least once quit a session or quit playing a game permanently because of harassment and hate. That's fucked up. I mean, that's only a very small number of people polled. But that's when you're talking 60, 70% of players that will leave a community and leave a game. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think it sort of feeds into, I don't want to obviously go to the panel on this one because it feeds into our next topic where Xbox is making moves to do something about this. Xbox has released a feature and it is live on, I'm in the beta, I think, I'm in the beta, testers on Xbox. I can't remember the name of the damn thing. Beta Insiders, and I've got a Delta Insiders, and I think on my beta console, this feature is there. You can report people. So I have reported Pete, reported Umbra, I've reported Garuda, haven't reported Blue yet.
What?
Oh, wait a minute.
You reported me because I sold my Xbox. I know that.
That's not misandrist. You didn't report all the men, but not the lady. Wait a minute.
Well, she hasn't done anything wrong, you know. We'll wait till she says it. I'm
The
watching.
thing is you actually get reported by Riskit. It's a thumbs up by Xbox. They
Yeah.
actually want you in the community.
Yeah,
So
Xbox sent you codes. That's how we got our review codes for Starfield.
They've released an article on Xbox.com earlier this week saying Xbox's latest safety feature allows players to capture and report inappropriate voice activity on any multiplayer game with in-game voice chat on Xbox Series X, Xbox One. Players who experience or witness inappropriate verbal behavior can capture now and report later, minimizing the impact on their gameplay. So sort of how this works, and then we'll talk about the strikes and the new enforcement I guess, flowchart that they released recently. And Blue, I know you were quite vocal about this online, and I think we have differing opinions, maybe line up on some of them. But how this works is you can just flick to your guide real quickly and then capture the last 60 seconds of chat, and then back to your game. And you can send that off for report at any time later on. So I did report Garuda because I just wanted to see how it works. So when he gets banned, we'll see how long he gets banned for. I
won't get banned.
I'm guessing one day he'll start off with, right?
Yeah, no, I'm only kidding. My concern about this, and I'll just quickly give you guys a bit of a run through of the new 8 strikes sort of thing. So examples of strikes for each action is profanity, cheating, sexually inappropriate stuff. There goes a couple of people I know. Harassment or bullying, hate speech. Not all actions are represented in this graphic, and there's a couple of concerns that I have around this. So you sort of start out with 1 strike is 1 day, 2 strikes is 1 day, 3 is 3 days, 4 is 7 days, 5 is 14 days, 6 is 21 days, 7 is 60 days, and 8 is 365 days. So there's a little bit of there's 8 strikes you can get. These last for 6 months. So people were a little bit concerned around the amount of strikes you could have and also the amount of time that it stays on your account. I personally think this is quite fair. Here's my concern. I'm Australian, and Australians have a culture, and in our I know it's unbelievable. It's not just barbecue thongs and short shorts, but we have a culture of swearing. We do. We use profanity probably more than any other. I would maybe argue Ireland might be another one. We use profanity probably more than any other English-speaking country on the planet. And I think you need to take culture into account. And for instance, calling someone, I won't say the word, but if you call someone a good C, that is a positive thing. It is not. It is not a negative thing. That's saying that he is a good guy. And that is just regular speak in lots of the places in Australia. So I think that I'm worried about whether they'll be taking culture into account. And then the other thing that sort of concerns me is this being done by AI. We know about Microsoft's heavy leaning onto AI. Or is this being individually done with people looking at these reports? Because I imagine it would be a mix of the two, but I would say more heavily leaning to AI. Now, Blue, I know you also had some concerns with the system as well, so I'm going to kick it to you. What are your thoughts around being able to report and record people's voice chats and send them off for report, and just the system in place from how you get your strikes to how you were banned?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of got a little vocal on Twitter because Ryan McCaffrey had kind of posted a tweet. He was upset about, or expressing frustration, and he added Phil and Xbox and kind of was like, this is too many opportunities for people to get away with bad behavior and punish the rest of us. And he had a couple, like 0.1% or 1% or something like that, of people who are doing infractions and repeatedly, et cetera, et cetera. So and then Phil had responded and just kind of said, thanks for the feedback, and we're striving to do this and this and this. And I, given the fact that there was nothing in place before, I mean, Xbox has all the data, the metadata, right, to go through and establish this program. They didn't just pick these numbers arbitrarily. I think it's a good system overall, because there are some people who choose to be particularly offensive to others just because of their opinions about life. And mostly, I look, as a girl, you hear a little bit more, right? Or get picked on a little bit more sometimes in random party chats through game chat, particularly Call of Duty, right? We all know Call of Duty is toxic no matter who you are. And I am not one to report. Practically nothing offends me, but there's been a couple times where I've been in Call of Duty and really heard some disgustingly racist things happening, and I've reported these people right through that system. And I don't know how this would work in cross-play games, right? Because it is the bigger games with the bigger audience, people have more opportunities to be an idiot. So I'm not sure how that's even going to work there. You really have to rely on those third-party servers, right, to take care of that.
That's a really good point, though.
But
I just want to, before you go on, I just want to just think about this. COD is very likely becoming an Xbox exclusive, which means they would have control over cross-play and people coming into that ecosystem and behaving. So they should very well be able to ban Activision accounts. Sorry, Blue.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. But I think it still go through Activision, right? In the current, even if they change the reporting mechanism or filter the Xbox one through Activision, I think Activision is still going to be the one doing that, right? Under Microsoft. Because they already have the system kind of built in to be able to stop PlayStation users or PC users, well, whatever, getting in and saying dumb shit. So I kind of pinged both Bill and Ryan, and I respectfully disagree because look, people who are dumb and say horrible things to random strangers that they don't know and have no reason to say those things to them, they're going to do it no matter what, right? They're going to get busted. And some of these infractions aren't just one tick towards that 8. You know, some of them get you 2 or 3. So it'll rack up pretty quickly, and they're going to do it on their own, and they're going to filter themselves out no matter what. I think 8 is plenty because sometimes maybe somebody accidentally, like you were talking about, right, with particular language, or say, you know, this group is in a party in in-game chat, and somebody hops into our game and hears, you know, you and Pete yelling words at each other that they don't find, you know, that they don't like, but it's, you know, they don't know the dynamic, right? So I think that the AI probably, if somebody decides to report that, the AI is going to do it. But I trust Xbox, Microsoft enough to have some sort of person behind there to do a second review if you file a grievance against your strike.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's going to be automated, you know, up front. And also, the other thing is, the nice part about this is that it records it, it plops it on your Xbox. You don't have to stop your game to do it. And in 24 hours, it's like a cooling off period, right? You hop out of the game later on, you're like, oh yeah, I want to report that person. But if you go and you listen to it and you're like, oh, well, that wasn't that big a deal, right? It might save a strike against somebody who maybe didn't deserve it anyway. Or, you know, it still gives you the opportunity to keep playing and then come back and do it later so you don't lose that moment. I think that's pretty brilliant. And it secretly just deletes it after 24 hours off of your account so you can keep, you know. I don't know. I like it. I think it's I think it's a good idea. Now, how it gets implemented, of course, right? It's everything new has a learning period. This is going to have a learning period for sure.
Can someone explain to me how this works? Because honestly, I haven't really looked it up. So, do you need to get 8 points initially for the ban to take into effect, and then every point after that gets a ban?
No, it's a strike system, right? So, the strikes last for 6 months. You can get a strike for profanity, cheating, sexually inappropriate behavior, harassment, or bullying. So, profanity is 1 strike, cheating is 1, which I believe should be 3. Sexually inappropriate behavior is 2. Harassment or bullying is 2. And hate speech is 3. There's more actions,
and
apparently.
How many strikes until you're actually banned?
8.
Yeah, okay, so you do actually need to get to 8, and it's within that 6-month period, so it'll be hard to get banned.
Permaban either.
Okay, so
it's not a permaban.
Yeah,
well, look, I want to preface all of this by saying that I think that people are far too soft these days. I think that the stuff that I've heard in gaming, you know, in the past, you know, would make a sailor blush. That's just the way that PvP games go, especially when it comes to things like Call of Duty, Halo, those really uber competitive games. In saying that, I do think that there's a limit where you can go. I got a big nitpick with racism, especially. And so that's, typically things that I really don't like. Now, I've never, ever reported anybody. I don't think I ever would report anybody. It's just not in my nature to do that. But I do think that this could be abused. And I don't know who said it. I think you said it, Riskit. I think it's going to be an AI thing that then, looks at it, because it's just going to be, you can't get a human to look at every single one of these events. I think that's just too much. Unless somebody then does report it, then a human might look at it. But I think that they're just going to be more like a rubber stamp than anything else. And I think context is king when it comes to these things, because we've said some incredibly rude things to each other, but we're just stuffing around, man. Like, we're mates. Now, another question that I had: how does this work? Is this just Xbox party system? So when we're in a party together and we're chilling out,
it's game chat as well. So you just bring up the guide. No, it's game chat and Xbox. It's everything. So absolutely any voice chat it can pick up.
That I don't like. So if it's game chat and I actually decide to play a Warzone game and then go into game chat and I'm speaking to people that I don't know from a bar of soap, then I will watch what I say a lot more closely. But if I'm in a party chat, and I'm in party chat all the time with my mates, we're just shooting the shit, fucking around, having a good time. None of it is meant to hurt anybody. It's all mostly said in jest. And so I don't want those conversations listened to. I don't want those conversations listened to in any way, shape, or form. I don't think I should be punished for them, because there will be no context to it if an AI does it, and I think it'll be abused.
Yeah, I definitely love it, because I'll be able to just permaban. No, not permaban, but I'll be able to get everyone that I've been in a party with banned just regularly, so they'll have to tiptoe around me. They'll be careful. They'll watch the P's and Q's. I can do that. Oh, hey, thing, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Risk. I'm sorry." No, I'm kidding.
I'm going to use it on people who I suspect might have said something. You look like you might say something racist. I'm going to report you.
Yeah, look, it definitely has a possibility to be negative. But I mean, and Blue, what you were saying as well, and Pete, to what you were saying is, I have a serious disdain for racism, but I also have a really serious disdain for bullies. And I mean, if you heard me and Shiz, guys in the chat, if you heard a friend of ours, me and Shiz go at it, you would think we're bullying each other, but we're just messing around. So it has.
I'm pretty sure Shiz thinks it's bullying. You don't.
It has a possibility to be, if someone came in and heard us going at it. It has a possibility to go, sort of either way. So I could see the negatives for it and the positives. My concern is, again, like I said, is there an AI behind this? And I think, Blue, you're right. There'll be an AI at the beginning and a person, but are they going to take culture into account? Umbra, what do you think about this 8 strikes you're out for 365 days?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to bring culture into it. I think they're going to say, hey, listen, these are the guidelines. You better know what words are offensive, even if they're not part of your culture or not offensive to your culture. And you're going to have to, what's the word I'm looking for here? You're going to have to try to adapt. And I don't think that's unfair. To be fair, I don't think it's unfair, because just because we say it around each other or whatever in our culture doesn't mean that it's PC, right? And they're striving to push that model that Phil always talks about, with the we all game together and we win and all that stuff. So they want to have a more family friendly structure when it comes to Xbox, and I don't think it's an unfair thing to ask. I do agree with Pete where I think people are more sensitive nowadays, but at the same time, I have been on the receiving end of racist retorts, if you will, right? I've been on the receiving end where I just come into a party, not a party, but let's say an online match or something like that. I'll say this too. With Halo, I never really experienced that. It's probably why I don't care for Call of Duty so much, because when I played the Call of Duty matchmaking, I heard it left and right and viciously, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's a mixture of me not caring for Twitch shooters like that, but it's also because of the like almost inherent racism you will receive punishment wise, as far as what how people will say what they say recklessly. So I have been on the receiving end of that, and I'll say, like, listen, I don't think everybody understands how not effective, but how that affects you as a person. You're going in there, you're going to have fun, and then you hear something like that, it tears you down after so long. You continuously hear that type of stuff. So I get it from both directions when it comes to that. I'm not a very sensitive type when it comes to I got pretty tough skin, but still it's tiresome. I came to escape reality, where I've heard it in reality, you know what I'm saying, in my normal day-to-day before. Now me, I'm a pretty big brother. They're not going to say it to me, but you know what I'm saying, like they'll say it near me and run. But I'm just saying, the thing is I've faced that in person, and it is not something I want to deal with when I'm doing something that's escapism. You know what I mean? So I get it for that reason too. So I'm not mad at the system. I think it makes sense, and it's a merit system, kind of like the demerit system they use for, I think for like car, I think for infractions over like in different countries for like if you have strikes against you as a driver, right? I believe so. Like, yeah, other places around the world use this type of system. So I think it's fair. I think it's more than fair, actually. And you get 3 strikes for slurs, racist slurs, things of that nature, and you need 4 for a 2-day ban, right? For a 2-day ban, and 2 for a full day ban. I like it. I think it makes sense, and yeah, I don't think it's really a. And as Mac said, his best friend is black, so clearly Mac is not racist. He can't be. So yeah, no, I think it makes sense. I think it's logical, and I get it. I think it's something that needed to happen, and I don't think it's much. I think it's much ado about nothing, one way or another. I don't. I'm not like, oh man, they finally implemented this, because it's whatever to me. But and typically because I don't get into these matches and talk with people online like I used to, versus being in a party with Pete and everybody else. You know what I mean? So it's kind of whatever to me nowadays. But for some people I have met some people who are loners and are looking to find friends, and oftentimes they'll be met with unkindness, if you will, and harm from slurs and things like that they didn't sign up for. You know what I mean? And because we've had times, Pete, I'm sure you remember, where we brought in somebody who didn't know us like that, but because we were so nice. We had a guy, actually, I remember one time he was antagonistic. We played him in Halo, and we brought him in, and we talked so nice to him and regular, like normal human beings. He was like, oh, I was ready. I thought you guys were going to be mad at me and come at me incorrect, but you all just cool. Remember that, Pete?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, and I mean that's just what our parties are like generally, and that's why I love our parties, and that's why I think that if an AI does it, they won't get the context, because
I get
we
that.
we generally are good people. Like, you're a
Mm-hmm.
good man. You have good
Thank you, same, brother.
intentions with everything that you do. I know Riskit is the same, but sometimes he can say stuff that can seem inflammatory out of the
Mm-hmm.
people.
I never. What do you
Riskit the
mean?
same. He has good. Sorry. Jesus is the same. He has good intentions. I don't think he actually means anything by what he says, but some of it can just throw people off, especially if they've never been in a party before. And this is what I worry about. The only thing that I will say about the system that I like is you actually need to get a hell of a lot of strikes to actually start getting banned, and within a short amount of time. And after that 6-month period is up, the points start dropping away and dropping away, and so really there should be no reason for anybody to actually get banned. Like,
Yeah.
they are giving you fair warning. They're letting you know that, hey, what's allowed, what's not allowed. But I just think that it can be abused. Like, we know people out there, Riskit, I think you know who I'm talking about, that will take advantage of the situation, and they will find it comical, and they will round up their friends to also, put strikes on you until you get banned. And I hope that when it's implemented, they take into account that, hey, this person's been on Xbox for this long. We've never had a problem with this person before. Why all of a sudden is this person getting so many strikes? And I don't know if you can do that through AI. I think that a human being needs to do that and look at it in that way.
You know
Yeah.
that the other side of this topic is whether you deserved it or not, let's say you get banned. So you're struck completely from, I guess we could call it core or live, whatever the attachment to multiplayer, right? Or online services, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have only digital games, which I am mostly digital, or, you know, say you only play online shooters or whatever, right? Like you're now locked out of your purchases that you, and if you were being a jackass, then, you know, it's kind of, you bought your own, you know, ticket here, but at the same time, you're now locked out of your own things that you've purchased. And that I'm kind of not a fan of. I don't know if there's a way to play where they don't let you talk.
Yeah, no,
but,
there is a way, because I be full disclosure, I've been banned a few times for numerous things.
No.
And yeah, you're able to access your online games. You're just not able to talk in a party chat. A couple of times it was completely unfair. But you got to remember, I played Battlefield and COD for a lot of years, so you know.
And not in-game chat either.
In-game chat. Yeah, so you won't be able to play. You won't be able to communicate at all. It just shuts off your mic, basically.
Okay.
And that means messaging too. I think there's a point at which they shut off messaging, so you can't even message the people and tell them like, "Hey, I can't talk." So yeah, you can't join parties, and yeah, I mean it's painful when it happens. So hopefully people. I think it's a fair system though, right? There's like 8. You've got 8 chances. You know, Garuda to sort of correct your behavior, you know, or maybe a little bit less than 5 chances to correct your behavior. Like, what are your thoughts on being banned? Considering that you're a PC shell now, and you don't really have to worry about it as much.
You're massive Xbox, bro. It is a platform. Xbox is a platform, not a little box under your TV, sir. Ask Phil. Phil paid for my PC with all the savings I made from Game Pass, okay? How many times do I have to tell you that? Yeah. Anyway, listen, I think it's important. I think this is all a very good thing because I don't like people to feel uncomfortable. And there are, you know, idiots out there who go out of their way to really just make people's lives terrible and pick on people and bully people. And they might not have an affinity for the banter that, you know, some of us do and stuff like that. So I'm cool with it. That said, I don't have a thin skin. The things that are off limits to me are sort of, you know, race and creed, you know, sex and sexual preference. Those things are sort of off limits to me. And if you can't have a sort of dissonant discourse with somebody and you feel the need to bring up those 4 or 5 things, like you already show that you're probably lacking a bit of intelligence or vocabulary or sort of argumentative sort of strength, because you know you shouldn't have to delve into that to win an argument or to get into the banter. You know, you shouldn't have to go to those sort of personal things. I think it's good. It's going to make people sharpen their game up a little bit with their discourse. So whatever, man. But I mean, it is important to sort of touch on the 8 strikes thing, because it does seem like a lot. Like Pete said, it seems like, man, that's a lot of strikes before you get banned. But actually, Phil said depending on the infringement, that could incur multiple points in one strike. So say, for example, it was a racial thing or a creed-based thing, it might give you 4 strikes in one hit. So it's not exactly, they probably weren't very clear with it when they announced the 8 strikes thing, because you can wipe out those in sort of 2 infringements. So yeah, it could be a little bit easier to get banned than what you think it is. I just think, look, man, and this goes for me in life in general, just don't be an asshole, man. Like, just be nice to people. You can have constructive criticism and dissonant discourse without delving into those really personal things, man. And like, dude, just be nice to people. Like, that's just my philosophy.
The best way to look at it, Garuda, is you don't say anything over party chat that you wouldn't say to somebody's face.
Right, man. And I'm just like that in general. If you're a keyboard warrior, so to speak, and you say all these things that you wouldn't go and say to people in reality, then you're a fraud, man. You are a fraud.
Yeah.
You know.
There's one thing that really gets to me, and I'm not going to lie, when I get teabagged. I do not.
That's
like
awesome, though.
teabags
That's
in
good that it
games.
gets to you, man. That's cool, I reckon. That is
It gets
awesome, bro.
me,
I don't
bro.
like it either.
Yeah.
But I don't like it in a way
gotta get
like
good.
in a competitive way. Like, oh, you did that? I'm gonna kill you when I get a
Exactly.
chance.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That
I
adds
don't
to
like
the
it
flavor,
either.
but don't go off just because you're getting frustrated or you've been outsmarted or whatever. Don't start going over after people's sexual preference, religion, sort of all that kind of stuff, man. Like that's just off limits anywhere, not just on Xbox. So, I think the rest of it will be let go. I think this will just look, it's not like it was in the 360 era anyway. Let's face it, man. When you'd be in a lobby and you'd be just getting roasted, like the shit that you've never heard before in your life. It's like, holy crap, man. Like,
I find that stuff comical, but that
yeah,
is
so do I,
hilarious
bro.
to
But
me.
like
Yeah.
Riskit sort of said it, and yourself, Pete. Aussies have a sort of real affinity for that. We're pretty hardcore. We have a lot of slang and a lot of profanity in our day-to-day language. And if you call someone a mad C or a good C, but all this kind of stuff, that means they're like your closest friends. And the more you abuse them and pick on them, the closer they are to you. But that's not viewed that way in many other cultures. And I can't expect all these other cultures to kind of fall in line with that or understand that either. So I think the cultural stuff's going to be taken out of it. There's going to be sort of a general way to treat people, and that's just treat them well.
Yeah,
man.
that's my thinking. I don't think it'll
Yeah.
be. That's why I said I don't think
Yeah.
it'll be any cultural
I agree,
thing, because
Umbra.
we could. That's too much of an easy.
It is. There's too
escape
much
to-
nuance there, man.
Yeah.
It won't be able to be policed by people or AI. It's just going to be too hard.
Exactly.
Okay,
but
then
just treat
I
people
want to
well.
ask everyone. Like,
Well, we
I
call
wanna ask
everybody
the
dicky
panel-
dicks in my language. That's how we talk in our culture.
Yeah.
I want to ask the panel
So-
a question then. And Holly, I'll ask you first because I think females get it, cop it a lot more than guys cop it a lot of the time. So if someone told you to get back into the kitchen, does that warrant a strike?
No,
'Cause I've heard that a lot.
not from me. I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't piss me off, but
Still sexist. But
it's 100%. I'm not saying it's not a wrong statement. It's 100% wrong statement. But I just don't get. I don't know.
You're not a little
I don't get
Lily. You're not.
offended.
You're not super
I don't get
easy to
offended
offend.
by that kind of stuff because,
Yeah.
well, a lot of stuff in general, not just stupidly sexist comments, right? But as a woman, you hear a lot of stupid things to you. in
I've
the
heard
party
the way you
chat.
conduct yourself in party chats, and I think the way you go about most things is just fantastic. I think that you do have a good sense of humor, and you do play on it a lot. But
Well, and I was
I mean,
talking to-
Listen,
a lot of
listen.
women wouldn't
Time out.
take it that
Time
way.
out. Time out. What
Uh-oh.
we're not going to do. What we're not going to do is have Pete get on here and play the Casanova right now. Listen,
Oh,
we don't have time for that
It's
right
going to
now.
be a strike as well, Pete.
That need, you know what? I agree, Garuda.
Damn it!
well,
That should be a strike. I'm going to start reporting his simping for that. As soon as I hear beautiful, I'm reporting it. Like, oh no. That's
Uh-oh, Pete's in trouble.
That's-
He's not gonna make it one night.
Yeah, look, I love
but
the I kind of like the racial stuff, the sexist stuff. And look, I used to run with a crew long before I sort of got into creating or onto Twitter and really getting involved in Twitter. I ran with a crew on COD, and you would run into people in game chat and you would just have it out. Like you would have it out. And like you would be going at each other and calling each other all sorts of names, but and then like and then when you cut back to the game, when the game chat cuts off, everyone's like laughing and giggling, and then they're probably laughing as well. But there's definitely a line that can be crossed that should never be crossed. And so look, I think it's a good thing. I just think how they manage this is going to be the proof in the pudding, so to speak. And I am concerned, a little bit concerned as to how they're going to manage it. But I guess sort of time will tell. I don't want to spend too long on this. I will say one thing though: if Xbox could see the guest chat, we would all be getting banned.
Bro,
I,
yeah, that definitely, bro. Jeez, Riskit, the protein prince.
I,
Starting with blue here.
Holy man, I just saw the latest ones. Oh my god, that's definite bad.
Yeah,
Okay,
if
you guys want to like your own,
If-
but then you don't like these. I see how it is.
if you guys don't know, and you
we gotta stop this toxicity.
Yeah, right. Okay.
if you guys don't know, we have a guest chat in the background, so if someone needs to dip out for a minute or something happens, they can just let us know in the guest chat, sort of private, so we don't have to say it on air. And it usually gets used for the most weirdest, craziest gifts that we can find during the show, so we like to have a giggle in the background as well. But if you are new here, please subscribe. We go live at 8 p.m. EST every Friday. And if you're in Australia, that is 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And I did find someone on the comments last week said that they were from WA. So if you're in WA, it's 8 a.m. In Australian Western Standard Time. So, you know, if you're a West Aussie, shout out to you. It is the best state in Australia. We'll move on
But
to
it's further away than New Zealand. It is further away than another country. You need to be cut off the map.
I think so. I agree with that. We should have a wax it, right? Where we cut and you guys don't get any of our resources and we just watch the rest of the country crumble. Anyway, we're not going to get into those political talks now. I'll jump into the super chats. The most consistent export click. He said, what if a word sounds rude but in a different language? Will I need to set my country to Europe to say count? Mine's the O. Depends on how you say count. Over here, we use that word quite a bit, and it's not always in a derogatory fashion.
In fact, most of the time it's not. Most of the time it means you're my friend.
Yeah. So I mean, that's my worry is the cultural sort of differences and see where we come out. Udani Quazada, great friend of the show. Love you, Dani, man. Welcome. With the $5 super chat, he says, if Starfield gets folks so reminiscent of Skyrim, what period trend would you do to get in the zone? DC shoes, emo, crunk, Farmville, mustache, tattoos. All of those things. I still have DC shoes. I'm a child of the 90s. Yeah.
I like ES's, bro.
Yeah, DC.
Anyone have the Chad Muskers, bro? Mine were like 80% shoe goo.
Yeah.
Seriously, bro. Mine were 80% goo.
Chad Musker is my boy. That's the one I always used on Tony Hawk, man. He is an absolute legend. That dude can just grind for days. Absolute days. Bro. Look, we're going to jump on to the next topic. Xbox Brazil. Thank you for the subscription platinum steal. Xbox Brazil shared out a Final Fantasy VII tweet and then deleted it. Really interesting. And then Xbox came out and announced, so they said the image was posted in error and removed as it included a title not available on Xbox. And we know that they've got a bit of a relationship going over there at Square Enix and that they will be launching Final Fantasy XIV. This could be a mistake, or it could be the bit of a knell to say, hey, Final Fantasy VII is coming to Xbox, and we just wanted to sneakily, cheekily share it out there. And I wonder if the deal that they had with PlayStation was in perpetuity, because that would make a big difference. So I don't know. Do we see Final Fantasy coming to Xbox, or do we think that this has been locked up by PlayStation? It's a bit of a pipe dream and just a massive mistake on the part of Xbox Brazil. Garuda, what do you think, man?
I think that I think it will come. I think it all depends on the terms of the Sony Money Hat deal that they've done with Square, right? But in saying that, obviously, since the new boss has taken over at Square Enix, they've announced that more games are going to come to the Xbox platform, and so based on that, I would say yes, it will appear, and it does seem a little bit of a it does seem like a little bit of a precursor to what's coming, but with that image leaking. But I would say yes, sooner rather than later, we'll see Final Fantasy VII Remake, because it gets to the point where if this money hat is an in perpetuity thing and it's a constant fee that they're paying to keep it off Xbox, there's a point of diminishing returns for Sony then, isn't there? Like, it's probably not worth it anymore. The sales have slowed down because most people on the platform have already played it. And also, look, Square Enix has had a really big swing and a shift in what their ideals are. And they realize that in order for their games to be successful, it's got to be on more platforms. And that's what that deal with Phil Spencer was all about. So it really just depends on the terms of that agreement. But yeah, I think we're going to see Final Fantasy VII Remake appear on Xbox. Remember when it was announced, it said, you know, it was supposed to be coming to Xbox. It'll turn up. How significant that is, though, it's just that old now. It gets to a point where if the people who really wanted to play the game, and this is just my opinion, the people who really desperately wanted to play that game have found another avenue to do so. Look, I'm not saying it's not going to be a good thing that it comes to Xbox. Everything on Xbox is better, but it gets to the point where I'm not sure how important it is. But I just hope that everything going forward turns up on Xbox. They've made some really weird decisions, especially with like Octopath Traveler being an Xbox console exclusive, so it was on Xbox and Switch, but not PlayStation. And then the sequel arrives on PlayStation, but not Xbox. They've done some really weird deals, Square Enix, that have hurt themselves, especially their bottom line. They come out and complain, but what those complaints are more or less saying is that we screwed up with this deal and we're dumb and we don't know how to manage our company. That's literally what they're saying in a roundabout way. So yeah, I just think that it's been said in black and white that moving forward, more games are going to arrive. I'm just not sure about Final Fantasy VII because Sony, they view the Final Fantasy IP as synonymous with their brand. I mean, it went to the mainstream when it hit PlayStation with Final Fantasy VII, and it really does align with the PlayStation brand. When you think of Final Fantasy, you do think of PlayStation, and I think that's why they love it there. It doesn't do huge numbers. I know it did start out on the Nintendo platforms, but it went to the mainstream on the PlayStation. So they're going to view that internally and their fan base as a huge blow to their platform if it does arrive on Xbox. But I hope it will. It's going to be a big one for them. But I hope it comes there. But I just think that most people who wanted to play it have already played it. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. It caught me a little bit off guard because I was messing around in the chat. Derek Lay, thanks for the subscription. Jedi Knight, Pete, seeing as you're caught off guard too, what do you think? Final Fantasy's coming to Xbox? I tend to think that this might have been a hint. This has got to be calculated. Man, this goes through too many people to just be an accidental post, right?
I think it is actually going to come to Xbox. They got a new CEO now. That Phil got up on stage. That is, really showing what they're going to be doing in the future. I think they need to do that. And if you ask me, I'll ask myself a question: what does Square Enix get by constantly making it exclusive to PlayStation? What do they get out of it? And they have to ask themselves: will the sales of Xbox outweigh what PlayStation are giving them? How is PlayStation going to continue to pay whatever fee they're paying to keep it off there? I think for both, even if it's not a money thing, just for the optics of it going forward for Square Enix and the reputational bonus that they'll get out of it, I think it'll be a very good idea for them to put it on Xbox. It will show that this new CEO is going in a different direction. Xbox is no longer, going to looked at so negatively, and they can make money off selling a game on a console that they haven't been doing very well on. So yeah, I think where there's smoke, there's fire, and I think it's eventually going to come to Xbox.
Yeah,
and I don't really care either way because I'm not going to play that game. I'm not really into Final Fantasies.
Yeah, see, I would play that game because that's going back to the good old days of PlayStation when I was actually on PlayStation 1, and I love Final Fantasy VII, and from all accounts it was great, just not on the platform that I prefer, and if it is coming, then I'll probably wait. But the plan was always to get Final Fantasy VII on a deal for me. But Umbra, are you hoping that this will come to Xbox, or are you like Pete?
I'm not so much hoping as open for it to happen. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm like, man, I sure wish that this would come over after 3 years now. It needed to happen a long time ago. They scrapped the plans to bring it over. I didn't like that. I disliked that strongly. And Square has paid for it dearly, I think. And now that's why they're coming to the table, because they've I guess as they would say, the old saying is the roosters come home, the chickens come home to roost, better yet. They've made these dumb decisions. This is what cost them their Western division. This weird, idea they have of what they expect the games to make, and then also cutting off other parts of the base of that you could build up. And they've done it to Xbox for so long, and I think it's been to their detriment. Yeah, now you have the situation with Final Fantasy 16, where it has dropped dramatically on the charts. I wouldn't say that it flopped, but it definitely didn't do what it should have done. And we know that now as a fact, because people, our Who's brothers try to come at us and, oh, it did well. Well, not according to Square. And now Square is notorious for never hitting expectations, apparently, for their sales for the games, but it didn't hit high-end expectations, as they put it, right? So it's to their own detriment. Not having the game launch on PC at the same time as PlayStation, at least, that would have been the smarter choice. But I guess it's to be seen how it affects the back end. Absolutely, it coming to Xbox, I think, is a foregone conclusion. My guess would be at Gamescom, if not the Tokyo Game Show, we'll get the announcement of that happening. And I would say Final Fantasy, maybe they might do the whole shebang, because one of our complaints was that they dared to bring, what was it, Final Fantasy Recore or whatever it was, the sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was just idiotic, because why would we want that side little project from the PSP?
That was a prequel. Yeah, it was sort of more or less a remaster or a remake of the prequel. But yeah, they're giving us crumbs, bro, and until they stop doing that, I'm not going to spend any money on their stuff.
Yeah, it's silly, and that's the thing. And the reason why we don't buy their games, because we just had one of our resident, let's say, low IQ speakers mention that the reason Square won't bring it to Xbox is because fanboys like them anyway, so you won. That's how he wrote it. It's very ineligible. But the thing is, he was trying to say is because Xbox fanboys wouldn't buy it. The reason is, the thing is though, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? You can't complain about Xbox gamers not supporting you when you don't give Xbox gamers the chance to do
us, so we're not going to support you. It's simple, isn't it?
That's right. It's very simple. And excuse the background, I am in Chicago, but
oh man, they're going to kick that door in again? How many times they get? They should know by now you're innocent. They should know.
They heard me roasting this wayward pony in the chat, and then they're like, hey, don't get on them that hard. No, anyway, seriously, I think the biggest thing is you can't build something off nothing. You can't say, oh, here's this random game that you all have no attachment to, and we've never put on your platform until now. Mm-hmm. And here we expect you to do and sell it well, and when it doesn't do well, we're going to punish you by not bringing the next big game that you do want to play or possibly would support. Yeah. Square has been their own worst enemy. It's not Xbox gamers' fault that they ignored us. They have other ways to put the games on the platforms too because of Game Pass. So there's no excuse. Octopath Traveler was put onto the service. Square themselves said it exceeded expectations. They themselves celebrated its sales. You know what I mean? So they can't then say, oh, well, we're going to ignore you for Octopath Traveler 2. I go back to that because it's like they'll build this goodwill. You would think they're starting to come around. They brought all those Final Fantasy games that Phil and team worked with them to get, and then they'll go right back to the well with Sony. It never fails. Mm-hmm. So if they want to turn their financials around, they're going to have to be smarter. And I think, working with Microsoft to bring those games, and I think maybe they'll do something like a trilogy package where they bring Final Fantasy VII Remake, the newer one that's coming out. What is it? I forgot the newer one that they announced. Rebirth, yeah. and possibly 16. Maybe they'll announce all of those are coming over.
They can keep 16, bro.
I'll take it. Listen, I'll take it. I've heard good things about it. You know what I mean? So I have no problem with that. I think it looks good. I do want to play it eventually. I just refuse to pay $70 for it. But if it drops in price, I would get it. But my thing is, bring all those over and actually give us a reason to support you. It's the only thing that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I think if they do that, I think their financials will turn around. You look at people like Capcom. Look at Capcom. Look at Bandai Namco. Look at how their fortunes are with the exact opposite of Square, because they didn't cut out their own legs by ignoring other platforms. It's just stupid. And I think now that Xbox has sold enough consoles, they can't just be ignored.
Yeah, I think.
And also that.
what you're saying is you're talking about trust, really, because the Xbox community just simply does not trust Square Enix. And
True.
you know, look at Octopath Traveler. It was a game that did really well on Xbox, as you referenced. And then Octopath Traveler 2 was taken away and was a PlayStation exclusive. So, and those that wanted to continue the story and play the next Octopath felt betrayed. If they were if they didn't have a PlayStation, they had to just sort of suck it up. And that doesn't not build trust with a community. They were almost at platinum level dickishness. You know, in the beginning of this generation. No,
in the case of Octopath Traveler Risk, they've alienated both platforms, right? Because Octopath Traveler 1 released on the Xbox platform, but not PlayStation. So all the fans couldn't jump over to the sequel if you're only playing on one platform. But then the sequel releases on a Sony platform and not Xbox. So all the fans of the original game are just not over there on that platform.
Yeah.
So you've alienated both sides, and then you're going to complain? No way, man. You guys are running that company like you're just not running it right. You know, there's no logic there. You've got no it's ridiculous. They've just alienated both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And you complain about sales? No way, man.
Yeah, they're their own worst enemy. Like I said, I think the tides have changed. You know what I mean? I'm not saying the Xbox is this powerhouse just yet, but they're getting there. And once that they have more of a bigger split or of a lesser split of a 3-to-1 or 2-to-1 type of situation going with PlayStation, it's going to become undeniable. You know what I mean? And I think the ABK situation is about to turn that tide for them once they get that situated. So once that happens and Xbox starts picking up numbers, you'll be a fool to try to ignore the Xbox platform. But I think Square has been a fool. So hopefully, you know, this newfound situation they have with Final Fantasy 14, you know, points them in the right direction. You know what I mean? They have there is a desire for them on Xbox, but we have no trust for you. We have to know that you're going to support the platform, and then we will, return that favor in kind. That's just what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And they sort of stuck it to the Western studios. Blue, do you want to see Final Fantasy VII on Xbox, first of all? And second of all, do you trust the brand that is Square Enix? And do you think it's going to go that way, that Square's going to start to pull their head out of their ass and start looking at Xbox as a viable option?
Wow. I think Square is a dumpster fire right now.
Yep.
Has been for a while. I could absolutely care less about Final Fantasy, and I'm not trying to disparage it whatsoever. It's just not my jam. Like, you tell me one day it's on, I'm like, cool. I'll never look for it. I don't care. And I'm sure they're fantastic games, and Ginger Prime got his wish, right, to get the new Final Fantasy coming later, and that's great. That's the kind of engagement I like to see for Xbox as a platform, is for the people who do like those games to be able to see those coming. I think Square is, I don't know. I don't see Square as a truly great company right now, but they have a lot of really quality IPs, and I think that they got this new guy, and clearly he came out on stage with Phil and made that big announcement, which we know didn't come on an instant. It's a lot of hard work, and they said on stage that they were looking forward to a long, more successful relationship with Xbox. So I do see Square opening the doors to Xbox, but it's not going to be a floodgate. It's going to be a trickle. There is sort of a cyclical problem, I think, with Square games on Xbox and it's actually probably just more, Japanese games on the whole, right? Because that's where one of the biggest places that Xbox kind of fails, or is just a little lackluster, right, compared to everyone else. But if Xbox customers aren't necessarily conditioned to those style games or that style art, or all of the things, all of the different types of Japanese games that come, then they're not as inclined to purchase them, right? Which then shows, it will be the lowest sale share, right? Because it's a third place company, and then not a lot of people are buying them because they're not as familiar with them. And so it's sort of and so then they don't want to port it the next time, or it's easier to exclude Xbox and take the Sony money bag. So there's sort of a cyclical problem there, but it looks as if Xbox has sort of got in there and trying to break that cyclical problem with Square at first. And since Square has big IPs, good place to start and really sort of build that relationship and then have that trickle down to other developers and other publishers in that market.
Self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it, Holly? So you don't put it on there because you're the third place and people aren't used to getting your games on that console. And then so you don't put it on there. And yes, I think that there just needs to be a server cut, like where they just moving forward, all games Square Enix are going to be on Xbox. Then Xbox can start trusting them to have their games on there, and then gamers can actually learn about these games and start playing them. I think the really good example was Yakuza and how well that did for Sega, and what Xbox did for that franchise. The amount of people that had never heard of the Yakuza franchise and now really looking forward to the next one can show Square Enix that there is actually a market out there on Xbox for these games, and they can do well on it. I'm not saying they're going to do as well as PlayStation, because Square Enix games like Final Fantasy are synonymous with PlayStation, but you need to start somewhere.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And again, it just comes back to trust. Square needs to trust Xbox. Xbox needs to trust Square, and hopefully they're building that relationship. And then following that trust needs to come the trust from the gamers. Because I have starting to build a serious disdain for Square, and just the way that they were behaving with their Western studios, to the weird choices that they made with their games, to we saw all this, and as hardcores. That affects us, and then I guess casuals. It's who is Square Enix is not a big presence on Xbox, so I agree. Like, the casuals would need to sort of learn who these guys are, what type of games they make when they make good games, which is rare. But look, we do need to move on to the next topic. Before we do, Hollander001 with a $5 super chat says, PlayStation is doing this even in party chat. He said, I joined a party chat and they said it may be recorded. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of happening across the board, trying to get rid of some of this toxicity, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Look, jumping on to the next topic, and it's one that I haven't had in the topics list, but it's one that popped up and Umbra sort of mentioned, is Embracer is going to cancel more games and close more studios to save costs. We know that they've got some very, very big IPs and some very good studios. And so this does create a little bit of worry, but on the back of that, Embracer Group's net sales rose by about 47%. So Lars Winkfors is the CEO. He said, we're making very good progress on the restructuring. I think they pushed their net profit up to 2.5 billion SEK, which is about 236 million, compared to the loss of about 182 million. I am not overly worried. Thank you for the subscription, Victoria17 Gaming. I'm not overly worried about the big IPs and the big studios being shut down. We've got Payday 3 coming from them, Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, Alone in the Dark. There is a Tomb Raider game. Shout out to Skill Up, who thought it was a rumor, but it's not a rumor. There is a Tomb Raider game in development with Amazon. They've got a lot of stuff coming. Remnant 2 was theirs. That did really, really well. And like I said, they've got Eidos. Damn it, I'm saying it like Pete. They've got Eidos Montreal. They've got Crystal Dynamics. So yeah, I guess there's some worry there that we could lose some of these big studios, but I really don't think that that's what they're targeting. I think they're targeting some of these smaller games as they've grown bigger. They probably want to cut some of the fat, which would be the smaller studios. But Umbra, this is sort of something that you brought that you thought would be a good topic. So I want to get your thoughts on it. Do you see them shutting down studios like Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal?
I don't see them doing it immediately. I think they'll hold off. I think that those are some of the highest profile studios, right? And they have some of the most iconic IP. So they're going to try to stave off. And they actually spoke on it back then when the deal with Saudi Arabia went wrong. We didn't know at the time, of course, that it was Saudi Arabia. Many people thought it was Microsoft. But, they came out and said, hey, don't worry. We have games in the works and in development. they're not going to be affected by this. But we also saw other studios games did get affected. So that money has to come from somewhere. There was a $2 billion loss that now is affecting them heavily in other ways. Their stock price dropped, everything like that. So they're not Microsoft. They don't have Microsoft's bank. They can't afford that type of action to happen, and then everything is hunky-dory. So the thing is that I think it's going to affect them at some point where they're going to have to possibly divest. And that's the newest report that we got today from Strickland. And so you also had, I believe, Crystal Dynamics. No, Eidos. I'm sorry. Eidos came out and said that they're still working on the game. Everything's all right. Yeah, that's for now. Now, I have to wonder how that will affect things going forward in the future. Because, yeah, it's all good just a week ago. That's the saying. It was all good just a week ago. That, today's price and yesterday's price and all those things. Now, they got them for a really cheap price. And people were saying, well, they'll be a mint if Microsoft wants to buy them now. And I'm sure Microsoft would buy them if they were like doubled or nearly tripled in price to grab hold to Crystal Dynamics, which would fill up their initiative studios to be right back under Daryl Gallagher, as well as to, continue the games that they want to make over there. It just fits perfectly with Microsoft. On top of that, they gain the Tomb Raider license, IP rather. They gain Deus Ex. Does that mean you gain a lot? Thief, I believe, right? It's a few others. I'm slipping my mind at the moment. Mm-hmm. So I think it's worthwhile to grab them. And it's something that it was actually some tinfoil headery at a point where we thought, some people thought, and I even kind of fed into it a bit, where, the assumption was maybe that they sold them so cheap, Square, to Embracer, that maybe Embracer is just holding on into them until Microsoft gets done with this ABK situation, and then they can buy them off from them. Well, I don't think that was the case, but I think that's going to end up being the case. Now, I say that just to say it all depends, because I don't doubt for a second that Microsoft wouldn't like to grab hold to Crystal Dynamics and Eidos and that Tomb Raider IP specifically. If you all remember years back, I believe during Xbox One gen, I know, they had an advert where it showed Lara Croft, it showed Master Chief, it showed Batman. And that further fueled, of course, our want for WB games. And I still think they're eyeing them. I don't know if they're going to say it out loud, but I think they are. And I think they just needed the right situation to come along, much like ABK. But I think Lara Croft, being the icon she is, will be a great get for Microsoft as far as leading ladies and leading icons to lead the brand. Mm-hmm. We talk about the zeitgeist. You can't get much better than and more recognizable outside of Master Chief, Mario, and
originally
and
a PlayStation exclusive. I'm just going to throw that in there.
Absolutely. So I think it will matter. And Crystal Dynamics and Eidos, excellent dev studios. That would be a great get, 100%. So I don't know what the price would be for them, but I think Microsoft would be foolish not to look into grabbing them. The thing is, though, you have other players out there. So I would worry about a Tencent stepping in to try to grab hold to them. Maybe even Sony if the price is right. Sony would need them more than Microsoft, in my opinion. But I would not be against Microsoft grabbing them. I would want Microsoft to get them because, Game Pass. Am I right, Garuda? So,
Hell yeah.
So that's my thing on it. So I wonder how it's going to play out in the future. I don't think it'll be anything that we'll see just yet, but things change.
Yeah, look, I think it's something that if Microsoft has the capacity right now, because you've got to look at what's been going on with the CMA, and we're not going to jump into that topic, but we did have a topic where Australia was holding off on approving the deal until the CMA steps forward and finally lets go of this stupid shit they've been up to. And they've obviously got to deal with that in the background, and they did say they weren't going to stop here, right? So I think it would be a really good get to step in and say, hey, we can give you an inflated price and I think it would be worth it, an inflated price for, Crystal Dynamics and for and Eidos Montreal. I also think, Crystal Dynamics is already working with Xbox as is, so it would be a good fit. How well they're collaborating is going to be interesting to see when we see Perfect Dark, obviously come out in say 2025 or the back end of 2024. I think it would be a good get, Umbra. 110% agree. Jedi, do you think it'd be good for Microsoft to sort of swoop in and go after Crystal? at this point.
Of course it would be. I mean, Crystal Dynamics is already working on Perfect Dark under Noel Gallagher. I think that's what his name is. Can't remember his first name. But, I mean, obviously Microsoft would want that. And I think that they would have hindered when they were selling, those developers off because of the acquisitions that were already in the process at that time. So I don't think that they could really put their hand in the ring. But I don't think Embracer will sell. Now, Embracer, and you guys have heard me, I don't like consolidation. I like what Embracer's been doing, and they got some amazing deals. But it is going to take them a little bit of time to see what works for them, to see what doesn't work for them, to see what IPs are going to be making money, to see what developers are actually doing the right thing, and to see what developers, aren't. And, it's going to be like more of a managing process for them now. I want them to succeed. I mean, so they started this buying frenzy, I think, in around 2013 when they first bought a bank. They got games from a bankrupt THQ. They got Darksiders, Red Faction, Destroy All Humans, and they haven't really stopped since then. They got Experiment 101 and the Biomutant franchise in 2017. In 2018, they got their biggest one, that Koch Media, Deep Silver, for $150 million, and they got, the owner of Dambuster Studio, so Dead Island 2, Homefront the Revolution, Chorus, Saints Row, Red Faction. Saints Row was a problem for them. I think their shares dropped considerably after that game launched.
I wonder why that was.
It was the first big AAA title that they had done under their acquisition, and the game just didn't sell well. And so I think it's going to be more along those lines, managing those studios, managing those IPs, and actually getting the developers to focus on, which IPs to make, how they manage their studios, more so than selling off what I think is their biggest studio and their biggest franchises. I mean, Crystal Dynamics, how do you say it, Risk? Eidos, however the hell you say it. Eidos Montreal. I mean, these guys are proven developers. Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and Mankind Divided are fantastic games. The Tomb Raider series that we got given were also fantastic games. They also own other things like Time Splinters, Kingdoms of Amalur.
Do they have that? Wow.
They own Metro, and they also own the engine that produced Metro Exodus, which is one of the only engines out there that's capable of outputting 4K at 60. The
with
game
full
looks
global ray
beautiful.
trace illumination, real ray tracing.
Exactly. So what they own is substantial.
Wow.
They own smaller things like Valheim, Wreckfest, Kingdom Come Deliverance. I mean, they own the studio that made Hot Wheels Unleashed.
Peter.
They own Gunfire Games, which just released Remnant 2, which blew up.
Peter, sir.
So,
sir, are you reading that off a list?
I'm reading it off.
God
What's
damn
wrong with that?
I can't remember all of this shit.
No!
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is,
no, I know you can't. I know you can't remember it. That's why.
Own.
That's why I said you're reading it off a list. Sorry.
I mean, and what they own is ridiculous. So I know everyone was saying doom and gloom when their share price went down, and I'm not saying it was a good thing, but they own so much, and not just IP, but development studios, actual talent. They own engines. I don't think they're gonna offload their most valuable franchises, even if the money was right, because quite frankly, Square Enix, Eidos, they got for $375 million, and absolute steal.
No question.
And so I think going forward, they have a lot to offer. And
yeah, I think to your point,
Interactive as well.
To your point,
owned by Embracer.
Yeah, to your point, they they just shut down Campfire Cabal, which is they've got THQ Nordic as well. All of THQ Nordic, that's theirs. They've also Focus Publishing. So anyone, these Focus games like Plague's Tale, all these games that you see there, this is all Embracer. But to your point, I think what they're starting to do, because Initially, I think their first major sort of acquisition was THQ, that they sort of held that for a while, and they were sitting in that AA space. So what I think we've been seeing with them is they're starting to foray into these bigger, what would be referred to as AAA games. Obviously that's related to studio size, but what I think we're seeing is that they're starting to really step into the space of AAA games, big titles with bigger budgets. And maybe what we see here, I really think this, maybe what we see here is them starting to cut some of these smaller games, smaller studios, or fold them into the other studios to help with development of their bigger games that they know, the bigger titles that they know are going to make some money. So I completely agree, Pete. And they do have, and I would have to read it off a list too. I was just taking the piss. I can't remember all those studios because they've got so many. But like I think that if they can manage to stay in that profit, year over year, and then bring these big AAA games and have success with those, I think that's what we're more going to see. We're going to see a third party, quality publisher and someone that can start to rival. I think Focus Entertainment's really not too far away from starting to rival those big ones like Activision Blizzard, like EA, like Ubisoft. And I think the time is right for that to happen. Because, Ubisoft, we've seen them sort of stick to a formula and fall off. EA, they've been doing really well recently, but they had their moment. And I think it sort of might be Focus's and Embrace's time. Garuda, what do you think? Do you think we're going to see, some of these bigger studios shut down? Do you think Xbox will start to look at, throwing some money at Embracer? Or do you think that this is just Embracer shutting down these smaller studios so they can push up these big titles that they're trying to make a bit of a difference with?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I feel like Xbox is gonna swoop in like vultures, over the dying corpses of those incredible IPs and studios. But so I mean, even I'm just thinking about Game Pass. Like at the end of the day, I'm thinking about what benefits me. That's naturally what we should probably all do. And I just want the more studios and the more IP that Xbox owns, the better it is for me in my Game Pass. So that's the way I'm thinking of this straight away, my selfishness. But look, they've expanded. Embracer Group has expanded rapidly and in a big way. But it just feels like they can afford to buy all these studios, publishers, etc., and IP, but they don't necessarily have the budget to put into the massive games themselves. So that's a little bit odd, and I think they've realized that they've gone too big too soon. Regarding, I think that if they're not willing to offload some of their possessions and stuff there at Embracer, I think that Microsoft would be more than happy to continue to rent them. I mean, say for example, you sign a contract. They're essentially renting Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics at the moment, working on Xbox first-party IP. I'm sure that with Microsoft and Xbox's massive IP list, that they would love to have a few more studios who could flesh that out a little bit. Because at the end of the day, it's an overwhelming IP list that we have in the Xbox stable, but there's not enough developers to expand on some of those, to bring some of those dormant IPs forward. I would be thinking if Microsoft isn't looking to purchase them, that they'll sign contracts for those guys to develop some of their games. That's what I would be hoping for. Look, you guys have already said it. Tomb Raider it's that zeitgeist IP that Xbox is probably lacking. It'll be that third-person action adventure game that's sort of missing from their first-party catalog as well. So it makes more sense than anything to go after Tomb Raider. Yeah, I'm just not sure about that. I just want Xbox to buy them all. That's just the way I feel, because at the end of the day, it goes into my Game Pass sub and I can play the games for essentially free. So they have tons of IP, but yeah, it just feels like, I mean, if Saints Row, and I'm not sure if they put out another AAA game since then, if those kind of games, the quality of them is anything to go by, I just don't really want Embracer to have any of those amazing, iconic IP, because they absolutely crapped the bed with that Saints Row. They can complain about sales all they want, but if you want to dish us up a piece of shit on a plate, we're not going to eat it. We're not going to buy it. So, yeah, I'm not very confident in what they've got. I think that's got a bit to do with the fact that they've spent all their money on all these IPs, and then they don't have the budget to actually teams. And they're learning pretty quickly that it's not that easy. So
I don't think that that's true. I think that what
Oh,
they
it might
did
not
with
be,
Square
Pete.
Enix was just very smart. Like, so I don't think you're going to be making a Tomb Raider IP now. I think it's been too soon, and I think you make an awful lot of money by selling them out to, a studio that was struggling. I mean, Perfect Dark was in a very bad place, and so I think what they did was very smart. And they do
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
they obviously got the money because they dished out the money for Saints Row. And although it didn't do what they thought it was going to do, like they obviously got the money there
How
behind
do
them.
you think it's going to do anything though? Is that a talent? Was that a talent thing, or was that a lack of budget? I'd like to know because that game looked like a double A piece of junk, and it was crap in every way. Like I don't know, man.
I
They've got to
think the
put more
game
forward
played
under the.
fine and looked fine. It was
Ooh.
more the premise of the game that I think fell over. I don't think
No,
it
no,
was
whoa.
actually
It definitely didn't play and
I
look
don't
fine.
like anything about it.
No,
The looks, the way it played, just
that
looked
game was
shit.
busted from
But
day
anyway,
one.
that's subjective.
It
so
still is busted. Yeah, that game was really badly optimized. There was
just
bugs
bad.
all throughout it. It was it's pretty rough.
But I mean, we don't have a hell of a lot more to go off as far as what their output's going to be. But all I know is they've got so many good IP that don't seem to be doing much with it. Yeah, let's give it to Xbox.
See, I wouldn't say that either. But like when you talk about they're doing a Tomb Raider, that's happening. They're doing they've got the Warhammer franchise that they're doing quite well with. They've got Space Marine 2 coming out. There's a lot of studios and a lot of games that they brought out recently. Remnant 2, that's another one of theirs. Brilliant game.
Oh, is that one of theirs? There you go. See, I didn't realize how much they've got. A ton of stuff, don't they?
They've got a
unbelievable.
ridiculous amount of stuff. Yeah, and they are bringing out good games, and the games have stepped up in quality from game to game. They really, really have. So I sort of do see the money behind them. I do see that the money's there, but they obviously need to make profit. So, they've got the 238 million in profits, not massive for a publisher with the amount of studios that they have. So they would have to trim the fat. That would make sense. You know what I mean? I understand that. Blue, what do you think? Do you want to see Xbox sort of saunter in, try to snap up Crystal while Embracer seems a little bit weakened? Or do you think that this is just Embracer trimming the fat so they can get down to the AAA games and really put out some quality IP?
No, I think look, Microsoft fired how many people, right, in the last couple of years? They've gone and reassessed, and other companies do that all the time too, right? You do a reevaluation of what departments are working, what aren't, what are producing, what aren't, who's making money for me and who's not. And you trim the fat every once in a while because there's always a new idea, there's always a new IP, there's always a new engine to create. There's all kinds of things that move with this industry all the time. So I think it's probably them just going through and saying, we need to trim, and where do we go? Now, I loved Garuda's idea of Microsoft sweeping in and buying IPs. I think that's brilliant. I don't think I'm right. Like, let's just not buy any more studios. Now, it doesn't mean you couldn't scoop up particular talent, right? That's important. And like Pete with IDOS, IDOS is fantastic, right? But it's, I don't really think they're in a position to be, doing any mega moves at this point, but IPs are where it's at. They've got, a butt ton of studios now, and they already have a lot of IPs, but it's great to sort of bring some of those home that have been with Xbox and really solidify it, and then find the right studio to do it, because they're going to go through like we've seen with Everwild, right? Like that thing is stuck in limbo, and who knows if that's actually for real going to make it out the gate. So there's a team, they could always pop a new IP in there and say, this fits this studio, let's do it. So I think it's great to have a stable
right now.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's great to have a stable of IPs, find the right studio, find the right team within studios, and make people miss them just a little bit, right? Like, I would kill for a Dead Rising game. I love Dead Rising so much, and I miss it. And it's been forever, since 5. But, Capcom's sitting tight on it. But that's how you build the anticipation, right? Like Fable and Joanna Dark, right? Like, you build the anticipation, let it sit dormant a while, but you also find the right team, and they have more than enough people to accomplish, I would say, probably almost any. Right? They just need all of those available to them.
I just want to go back to
Garuda,
Garuda's point. He said that they're not doing much. It says it's that they're releasing 94 games before March 2024. I mean, that is
Where are they?
that's a ridiculous amount of games.
It
Only
is.
four of
That
them.
is, man. I'll admit that's more than I thought. They
Only
really
four
are.
of
They really
them
live
are
up to the name
as
Embracer,
listed
don't they?
as AAA, and they've got, so they released Dead Island 2, Remnant 2, Alone in the Dark. They got Payday 3 coming out. They've also got a plan to release 31 AAA games before March 2028.
Atlas Fallen as well, right?
They've got exactly.
A lot of
They've
those
got
games,
11
I guess,
games
maybe
in development at Saber Interactive. They've got 8 games that are in development at Gearbox. So we're obviously going to be getting a new Borderlands and a lot into that. And then, Borderlands is also releasing the movie. They're going to try and make them coincide together. And you don't need to be spending millions of dollars on all AAA games. I think a lot of these games can focus on that AA, perfect Game Pass fodder, what people call Game Pass fodder. And I think a lot of those games can be incredibly successful. So yeah, I just think that they need to learn how to manage their studios right now, and I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of them. They've grown so big so quickly, and even some of those things you mentioned, like I didn't realize just how much they live up to their very name. Like they really have embraced everything. Like and with that's growing pains, man. Any business that grows that quickly, you're going to have those growing pains. So. If they got good management in place, I'm sure they can work it out. I mean, I'm not a lot of those IP. I guess I probably skimmed over a couple of them because they don't speak to me a hell of a lot, but that's a personal thing. But yeah, they've grown so big so quickly. It's hard to believe just how much they've acquired and what they've got in their stable. So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, when we talk about what studios they've got, well, we'll talk about games. Toxic Commando banishes Space Marine 2 is coming. What they just released real recently, Atomic Heart, Plague Tale Requiem, Atlas Fallen, Bolt Gun, Aliens Dark Descent, really good game. And this is just the focused publishing arm of Embracer. They've got Blackmail, Deck 13. They've got just with Deck 13, I believe, just did Atlas. Arcade Crew, Dovetail. They also just announced that the Last Ronin, that's them as well. So they've got a lot of studios, a lot of IPs. But I just hope that whoever's managing there, and they do seem to be doing really well. These last couple of years, they've done really well. And whoever's managing and steering that ship, I really do hope that that they know what they're doing and they don't cut into the IPs that really could be successful. Umbra, I don't think we've gone to you, and then we'll probably wrap it. But what do you think? I think we have gone to you, have we or not?
Yeah,
I think
I was the first one. Actually.
Been a big topic this one.
Yeah.
Well, fuck it, we'll wrap it then.
Shitty that Rise of the Ronin is going to be on Xbox. That game looks fantastic.
It does look to be pretty good.
Looks really good.
Yeah, it does. It does. But hey, we're going to get the Last Ronin. So Ninja Turtles game that looks pretty fly. So.
Yeah, I'm confused. There's a couple of Ronin games, right? I'm trying to work out in my mind which one you guys are talking about.
Yeah, so the Last Ronin is based on a dark Ninja Turtles comic where all of the turtles bar one is dead, and it's sort of post-apocalyptic. That one's
cool.
Yeah, that one's going to multiplat, and then there's the Last Ronin. I really haven't looked into that. Just trash.
Is that the pony one that sort of looks like it's trying to be Ghost of Tsushima, but not as good?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Is it tied to that? I mean, this is way out there, but is it tied to that? Remember, Tom Cruise did that movie, The Last Ronin, and wasn't that based on?
No, not tied to it. No,
the last.
I mean, not tied to it, but like the same style of world and.
No, I don't think so. No, not in the same time frame. It seems more ancient. But the movie was good, and the game looks trash. So. PlayStation sucks. Look,
There's a game there. People are rumoring it to be based around Yasuke, the Black Samurai as well. Like, which one's that? I don't know.
Oh, there was actually. That's true.
Yeah, there
was a rumor. Because there was a.
That would be cool, AF, bro.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty cool story. I mean, it's off topic, but. Sort of on topic, but it's a pretty cool story. Like about a African American samurai was a slave and escaped within Japan. Yeah,
Yasuke, yeah.
And
He got the he was like, he got bought over by the Portuguese, just really quick. He got bought over, like he was a Portuguese slave, and they were doing some trading in Japan, and like and they were so impressed by his strength, and people, you know, those guys back then just couldn't even believe his appearance, and they thought he was covered in grease or oil or something. They were so impressed with his strength that they trained him as a samurai basically, and he was like a legend.
Pretty
So
dope. It's a pretty dope
that would
story,
be a cool
actually.
premise for a game.
Great
That would
story.
be sick.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
Or
the
a
game,
movie.
by the way, was called The Rise of the Ronin, the other game. The Turtles is the last Ronin. So the Rise of the Ronin is the PS5 exclusive from Team Ninja.
Yeah. You don't need to remember that name because it'll be trash. PlayStation sucks. No. No, I'm just messing around. Bobby, I want you to be triggered. And what's his name who plays on bloody Xbox constantly but just big ups PlayStation? Weird, man. Dauntless. Read a book.
He's creeping.
I bounced him out.
It's been a fantastic show. Another fantastic week. Garuda, thanks for coming through, man, giving us your takes. We almost had a classic Pete Garuda fight, but it didn't pop off, unfortunately.
Pete had the upper hand there. Like, I was just going to get destroyed, so I backed off a bit. I know when I'm lost.
And you let them get away with it, Pete.
Just let the people know where they can.
I'll be honest, I didn't realize how big Embracer was, man. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's huge.
They still suck, kind of like, yeah. Give us your IPs. Their games aren't in Game Pass, bro, so they suck, you know. Like,
Hey, so talking about that, Garuda, Vampire Survivors got an update today, bro. So I don't know if you got it, but
yeah, is that just that one that's like couch co-op? Look, what about online co-op, man? Why do we need couch co-op? Boo. Like, anyway, Vampire Survivors is one of the best Xbox exclusives ever. Go and play it. Screw you all. No, man, Riskit, thank you.
It's not all. It's just one. It's just one.
Just let me do my outro, and then you won't have to hear from me again, right? No, thank you so much for having me, bro. I always love coming on, and it's just like talking with a bunch of friends about stuff that I like. You know, it's awesome. You know, like you guys, and Blue, like, yeah, it's been great catching up with you, and yeah, man, I'm always available to be on. I will stop my life to be on this show, bro. So yeah,
absolutely. And if you're in the chat, you should also stop your life to listen to this show. Blue.
Yeah.
No, that is awesome to have you here, man. Every time you're here, we have a great time. Garuda, thanks for coming through. Blue, another fantastic. Awesome to have you here as well. Love having your takes and your perspective. We got a good perspective from your side of the fence around the system that Xbox has come up with reporting and stuff. So it's actually really, really good to hear that. So thanks for coming on the show. Let the people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to, what you'd be doing this week, and how's it looking?
Thanks. Thanks again, guys, for having me. And I like to put up with you, so it's fun for a bit. I'm on Twitter at HLYBRI, which I'm sure the link, and then I am that blue number on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, PC. I have a Rogue Ally, so I've been dabbling into PC stuff. I'm normally not a big PC gamer. Otherwise, yeah, I will be around. Feel free to add me as a friend or follow me on Twitter or whatever. So thanks again, guys. And Garuda, it was great to be here with you. It was a real pleasure. You were
agreed.
You were good in our little goofy chat on the side. Don't drink too much coffee.
Oh yeah, definitely don't. Especially with the results. Anyway, yeah, it was fantastic having you. If you want to find any of our guests or anyone on the panel, you can head down in the description, and all the links are there, including Infinite Umbra's The Fix, I believe, is in there, and you can just head down to that YouTube link and click on that. Let people know where they can find you, what you're up to. Umbra, will you be back this week coming with The Fix?
Yes, sir. I'll be back this week. You know, we got the Gamescom coverage coming up, so we'll have 3 days of coverage to have, because it actually airs, I believe, before we go live at 8:00 Eastern. So yeah, you guys that have supported me, come through, and those who have not supported me, come through and show a brother some love, subscribe. Except for one of you all in the audience, you can stay away. You know who you are. You're not welcome. So yeah, come by and check a brother out. You can find me on The Fix. That's on Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern. On Tuesdays, you can find me on the Xbox Factor with Boom and Cast. So now, our brother Retri, he had his mother passed away, unfortunately. So
Oh, shit.
condolences to him. But for now, he's stepping away from the show. So we are bringing in C Money. Boom is bringing in C Money. So C Money who we had on the show, will be, yeah, good dude. He'll be a part of the podcast with us. I'm sorry, what was that, Garuda?
Sorry, my bad. I'm just yelling at my daughter. My bad.
Oh, I thought you were like, I thought he was like, are you? Like, did you? You brought him in? I'm like, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so he'll be part of that. And of course, you guys find me here on Fridays at 8 o'clock Eastern. And on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call that thing, you can find me Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. And thank you all for being here, except one of you.
Yeah. I wonder who that one is. Pete, another fantastic week.
Oh, by the way,
yep.
I can't wait to finish up Tomb Raider because I can't wait to play as Lara Croft again. I hope that burned their soul.
Lara Croft.
I love Lara. Don't you love Lara Croft?
Do love Lara Croft, bro. Yeah, she's awesome.
Isn't she lovely? I love Laura. Love you, Laura.
Pete, another fantastic week. Let people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to, and bloody blah, blah, blah. Links in the description.
Hopefully playing some games with you this week, bro, because I miss you, man. Even though you're a complete dick. Thanks, Garuda, for coming by again. Thanks, Holly.
That's a strike.
Such a bromance.
Umbra, I linked
that's a strike, I'm sure, on Xbox.
I linked Holly's Twitter in the chat, so it's easy for all you guys to get.
Thanks, brother.
I am going to be playing either Atlas Fallen or Remnant or Halo. I just can't wait for Starfield to drop. Everyone else is playing it now. It's fucking annoying. But thanks, chat. You guys are awesome today.
Yeah, it is annoying, man, because we know all these guys and they're all playing it, and it's like, dude, don't tell us. Anyway, another fantastic week. It's great to see you guys in the chat. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Even the one of you, because you make me laugh with your silly takes and books. But yeah, that's it for the show. If you want to find me, you can head down in the description, click on those links. If you're new, hit subscribe. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. If you're in Australia, 10 a.m. And I'm rambling. If you're in WA, it's 8 a.m. We're going to get out of here now. What the fuck is wrong with
Bye, everyone.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I've got issues.